Gus T. Renegade, Context of White Supremacy, live from La Crosse, Wisconsin. The phrase of the day, celebrate, but don't forget to liberate. Actually, it was celebration, but don't forget liberation. That was the phrase of the day. Founder of the White Privilege Conference, Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. That was the phrase of the day from the White Privilege Conference. It feels like I had a full day. Like, I'm tired. I am really tired. I feel like I had a full day. It was gorgeous out here in Wisconsin today. I don't know the exact temperature, but it was sunny. It had to be over 60 degrees. It was nice. Very active day. I cannot wait to get into sharing details of what I observed from, I guess this is day 3 at the White Privilege Conference. I am going to go through lines. Okay, got to get this out quickly. In terms of lines for the show tonight, you're going to have to wait like 40 minutes. If you are not at the White Privilege Conference, give me 40 minutes so that I have lines open for people to call in who are at the conference. After that, feel free to call in. You can share, ask questions, all that good stuff. Just give me 40 minutes if you are not at the White Privilege Conference. So we'll have lines open so that people can call in who are at the conference and share. I talked to a lot of people today, and I'm hoping that folks will call in to share what they have been hearing from White Privilege Conference number 11. Let me check the folks who are on the line to see which, if any, of these people are actually at the conference. Last 4 digits, 5808, 58. I think that's Love, Truth, Liberation, actually. Is this Love, Truth, Liberation? Is that you, 5808?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I'm in Atlanta.
Thank you for calling in. Love, love, love the support. Just give me, like I said, give me that 40 minutes. Once 40 minutes is over, you know, bump it. Call in and share what you've heard folks at the conference. You are the best, beautiful, most beautiful black female in Atlanta, for sure. Let me see. And it's true. You can see her video. She's a cutie. Let's see. Last 4 digits, 5128. 5128. Are you at Privilege Conference? 5128. Let's switch for. Okay, we got it now. Okay, so 51. You at the White Privilege Conference?
No, just listening.
Oh, okay. Groovy, no problem. Give me 40 minutes. That's the time limit. 40 minutes. So if you're on the East Coast, let's see, 10:30 there. 10:10. If you're on the East Coast, 11:10, then you can bump it and call in, get on. And I want to hear everybody that's listening. I want to hear from you. So hang out, call in. I hear what your thoughts are on day 3 from the White Privilege Conference. Just give me 40 minutes so I have some open lines available. I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is a Skype number or what. I think this has got to be a Skype number. If you called in with Skype or something that blocks your phone number, your line is open. Did someone call in with a Skype line? Yes, no, maybe? Did someone call in with a blocked number, perhaps? The number is showing up as 0123456, so I'm assuming that is not a real number. Skype blocked number. Anybody calling with a computer? Did you call in? Your mic is open. Could you say something? Anything, please? Okay. If you are not going to talk, I'm going to let your line go because I need open lines for people to call in who are actually at the White Privilege Conference. Give you 5 more seconds, maybe hit your mute button. If you called in with Skype, oh, okay, so they let go. Groovy. All right. All good. Hopefully some of these folks will call in. If they do not call in, then all of you guys can call back in and we'll just chat about my experiences at the conference. I'm going to front load this, so this will be, right, you'll get all the good stuff, right? We'll do that first. So we'll get all the good stuff. The good stuff. I cannot remember the last time that I have talked to this many non-white people, and in particular, black females, about racism, white supremacy, and it has been very constructive. No arguments. I don't think I've not had one argument with anyone, any non-white people at this conference. Not one. The entire time that I've been here, all of the conversations have been very courteous. People have listened. Even if they did not agree, they've listened. They thought about what I've had to say, about what other people have had to say. It's been very courteous dialogue, and a lot of opportunities for it. I feel like I've talked to a lot of black females. Was kind of sprinting to get down to the show because I just spent like the last 3 hours talking to non-white people, all non-white females, in fact, all black females, and no, except non-Mighty Wick. But yeah, all of the visitors. He doesn't count because he came from Seattle with us. But all of the people that I met here, all black females, and they were very courteous. We talked about racism the whole time, shared views, didn't agree on everything, no arguments, no fights. Very cool part of the white privilege conference experience. Refreshing, the term. Let's see, what else? Oh my God! Yeah, I'll say that for later when we get into the workshop for the day. Oh my gosh! I talked to Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary. She was on the program in January. If you didn't hear that program, go back and check it out. The cows is, I don't care what you are. Everybody that writes in and has their comments about the cows, I'll let you know I do not care. If you like the program, so what? That's the codified response, and that is from my heart. I don't care. If you think the program is constructive, I don't care. If you don't think the program is constructive, I don't care. Replace white supremacy with justice. I will say at the end of the day, I don't know too many programs where you can say, dang, Dr. Joy DeGruy Leary was on the program the same day as Neely Fuller. Anyway, go back in January, catch the program with Dr. DeGruy. I met her today and talked to her. She is phenomenal. I mean, whoa. I talked to her, and the first question was, do you think all white people are racist? Of course. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So she continued to talk, and she said, I was asking her if non-white people give her resistance when she says that. And she was just breaking it to bang, bang, bang. Of course, that's how we've been conditioning. That's part of our pathology. Oh, man. Well, I wish I had recorded it. She was awesome. And Dr. DeGruy is pretty cute. She is probably old enough to be my mom. She is pretty cute. She had on a leather skin. She reminded me of Dr. Welsing a little bit, like a younger version of Dr. Welsing. But yeah, she was monstrous. She was just bang, 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 knocking it out. Like she was like, that's part of our pathology, to not see white people as racist and to want to look out for them, to not upset them, to cater to their needs. And she started talking about some of her own experiences with white people and talking about how this white person did a review of her as a professor when she was still in the academy. And the white person, I guess, put on her form that she was entertaining. And she broke down. She said she went in and told the white person, she said, number one, I'm not kissing anybody's ass or anything, so we need to get that straight. Number two, you are going to take this thing off about me being entertaining immediately. I am not standing for this. This is going to be removed right now. And she broke down the rest of the story. She was monstrous. I was thoroughly impressed. It was great. I didn't even bring up the fact that she was on the show. Like I wasn't trying to, give any brownie points or anything. It was just cool to meet her and to, get some constructive dialogue with her. Vernelia Randall is coming to mind. That's another thing. There are a lot of people at this thing. 1,600 folks. I've seen Peggy Mack. I'll tell you that in a second. Anyway, so Dr. DeGruy, met her. That was great. One line that she shared that I missed, she said, black people are in sexual relationships with white people, not because they love white people, but because they do not like themselves. I'm not sure she said hate or like, but because I wasn't there. Like I said, I missed this line. I'm getting this secondhand, but the gist of it was people who are in non-white people who are in sexual relationships with white people are doing so not because of how they feel about white people, but because of the negative self-hate they have for themselves. That's what Dr. DeGroosh shared with another non-white person, victim of racism, white supremacy. Apparently there is video of that, so maybe we can share that, but I thought that was, man, Dr. DeGroosh, monstrous effort at the White Privilege Conference, just brilliance personified. Let's see, okay. Dr. Peggy McIntosh, suspected white supremacist. I had seen her several times. I saw her the day I got here. I've seen her all over the place. Haven't said anything to her. Don't feel I have anything to say to her. I saw her with a non-white person, a black male, and I was shaking my head like, man, the confusion she is sowing right now. Maybe Gus slacked in his duties. Maybe I should have ran up and got in that conversation to combat the confusion that I'm sure she was doling out. Now that I'm thinking about it, that probably would have been the correct thing to do, is to go hop in that conversation and try to combat the act of racism that I suspect I was observing. I'll just go ahead and acknowledge that. Gus, I did not do the correct thing. That's an F for Gus right there. I should have hopped in that. If it happens again, I will do that. But I saw that. What else did I observe today? Let's see. Dr. Vernelia Randall, she is giving a keynote address tomorrow morning. I plan to be front row. I cannot wait. I'm excited to hear her. I emailed her today, in fact, and reminded her that she was on the program and everything, that I'm here and I'm looking forward to seeing her. And I requested that she use the term white supremacy in her presentation, because I was told, Dr. DeGroosh, she gave a presentation this morning that I did not see. I spoke with her later in the day, but I was told that she did not use the term white supremacy in her earlier presentation today. So I requested that Professor Vernelia Randall, that she use the term white supremacy. She emailed me back. She said she was looking forward to meeting me at the conference. Hopes everything is going great. She didn't address the white supremacy part, but we shall see. If you heard when Vernelia Randall was on the program, outstanding episode, I think. That was back in August of 2009. Go back in the archives, check that out. That phenomenal effort. I'm looking forward to her being here at the conference tomorrow. Let's see, some of the other things. I'm trying to focus on positive. I want to focus on positive things that happened at the conference today. Let's see. I can't overemphasize the amount of constructive dialogue that I've had with different non-white people. Even I got to even put that in, even Dr. Moore. Number one, he allotted 2 minutes and 1 second for a commercial for the C.O.W.S tomorrow before Vernelia Randall's presentation. I'm going to attempt to get a white person to do my commercial plug for me, just to go up and share some of the guests that have been on the program, give the address, and I'm going to, hopefully they have a computer that I can just put an image up that has the program so people can write the URL down and, just know where it is. So hopefully that'll get me some non-white listeners. I suspect some suspected white supremacists will also tune in who are at the conference, but, do what you can. But Dr. Moore, you got, I feel like so many of the programs are appreciating in value because of this conference. You got to go back and listen to that program when Dr. Moore was here at the C.O.W.S. When he was on the program in May of 2009, he shared what he calls his theory of incapability. And that theory, he states that white people are not capable of seeing black people as anything but niggers. That's exactly what he said, niggers. Even at the time it was his girlfriend, now it is his wife, his admitted white supremacist wife who is pregnant. Even she sees him as a nigger. That's what he said on the May 2009 broadcast. Okay. So I'm here at the conference, and I shared that with some folks, and they went and asked him about it, and I guess, he talked to them about it, he explained it, and he came and talked to me one time about it, and he came and talked to me one time about it. He was like, yeah, a couple folks, they came up and they asked him about it. I explained. I didn't know where they got that from. I was like, I directed them to you. I told them what you said, and I told them to go ask you to get clarification on it. He's like, oh, okay, right on, right on. And, it was a nice moment between victims. And I saw him later, and I guess another person came up and asked him, about his theory of incapability. And he said, you gotta leave space. He said you gotta leave space for, I guess, white people to change or whatever. He didn't go into detail about this space. And he said you made, I guess, some of these white people, upon hearing me explain his theory and the other things that I shared, they felt as though there was nothing that white people could do. And I told Dr. Moore, I said, well, I did share my view, and my view is that white people are not going to stop practicing racism. I've seen nothing that would suggest otherwise. And a couple seconds back, he listened to what I said. He's like, okay. And he said, well, it's genetic for white people. I mean, practicing racism is in the DNA sequence for white people. And I was stunned. Because earlier, apparently a white person in one of the workshops said, I have been learning about racism and how to be a racist since the egg and sperm combined. I mean, just little things like that have been dropped. Yeah, apparently somebody else said, racism for white people is on a cellular level at this point. Just little things like that have been dropped here and there that I don't think they've been amplified. I don't think non-white people have really heard that and digested what that means, like what people are saying about the depths of racism, white supremacy in white people. But at any rate, the fact that he said that really stood out to me. Let me think. Some of the other high moments of the day, things that I really enjoyed about the conference. I got one other, but that's connected to a larger story, so that'll be bundled all together with what happened at the workshop. Yeah, I guess those are the highlights. Those are the things I really enjoy. Oh, I got to meet a lot of people. I met a lot of other people who presented as well. I think a lot of these people are probably going to come on the show down the road. One person, he did a film about being the only black person at a white prep school. I think he's coming on the show down the road. Another author, he's writing books about how tough and horrible it is to be a black person and to grow up as a black person in the system of white supremacy. I believe he'll be coming on the program soon. A lot of other folks. It was really cool. And there are a lot of cute people at this conference. Always nice to see cute non-white people. That's 2 thumbs up for sure. Yeah, I guess that would be the highlights of today. If I think of any more. Oh, that's right. There was a non-white female. She was in a video that Dr. Harry Davidson, who was also on the program in January, she was in that video. I didn't even catch that. Now I might even caught. She looks totally different now because she's pregnant, so she doesn't really look the same. But, yeah, and I mean, that's great. Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's great. She came over and she shared. That was pretty cool. I had actually heard her talk a lot. We were in a workshop together yesterday, and she was sharing about white people who profit from doing alleged anti-racist work. But that was pretty cool. I guess, yeah, for me, I guess that would be, and the weather. The weather was phenomenal. It was, I mean, man, oh man. So yeah, that would be constructive stuff that happened today. Things that I enjoyed, highlights of the day. Now, I guess I'll start with the workshop, and that'll kind of flush everything out about my thoughts on the White Privilege Conference at this point. I went to a workshop. Yeah, I'm going to try and give you the exact workshop so you'll know who it was that was facilitating and what was said. Yeah, give me 1 second so that I can get my sheet here. Okie dokie. 58. All right. Okay, the morning workshop that I was at, titled motivating people from privileged groups to support social justice. This was facilitated by Diane Goodman, a white woman suspected white supremacist. Now, in this interactive workshop, Diane will present 3 key factors which motivate people from privileged groups to support social justice. There's that for Cree, social justice, not justice. We will discuss the kinds of approaches that address each of these factors. Using this perspective, participants will be able to develop strategies to better engage people from privileged groups in their classrooms, institutions, and communities in supporting social justice efforts. Okay? Okay. So I'm in this workshop, and my motivation for attending this workshop was, and if you notice, white people are not referenced in that description at all. The word white is not even in the description, just privileged. Okay, so my motivation for going to this workshop was, I want to know, how are we going to get white people to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? Because I've seen no evidence that they want to, that they're going to. I mean, this should be ripe for this workshop. So I get there, and the first thing she asks is that we get into smaller groups and talk about how each of us experience privilege in some way and what we do to work against that privilege, right? And so I'm sitting here I'm sitting here with all white people and one non-white person in the group that, I'm in. I'm sitting with these folks, and, I'm a black male in this group, and I'm supposed to be thinking about how I experience privilege. Shout out to Bird, my male entitlement. I guess I could have did that, but I didn't do that. I'm supposed to be thinking about how I experience privilege and how I work against that in some capacity as a black male.
Double whammy.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, this is atrocious. I mean, this is atrocious. And so I listen to the white people, blah, 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 blah. And it gets to me, and I say, I was told repeatedly that in these workshops, you can push back, you can challenge what people are saying. It doesn't have to stick to the structure. So I said, I'm not following the rules. The only reason I'm here is because I believe the question needs to be asked, are white people going to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? Question mark. That question needs to be answered. And whatever your answer is, that is going to have a huge impact on how you think about replacing white supremacy with justice and whatever strategies you choose to implement. And so I tell this to my group, and the white people are just like, whoa, okay, huh. And this one white person, white female, white woman, she says, well, I'm here, I'm trying to do this work, and I'm just learning about anti-racism and working against all this and what to do. And I said, that's great. Number one, you could do this and still practice racism. Number two, I haven't really seen any evidence that white people are going to come to this conference, and just because I'm here in La Crosse, Wisconsin, going to the Cognac Club and listening to Dr. DeGrew, that does not mean I'm going to stop practicing racism, white supremacy. I haven't seen that. And so the white people are just like, wow, huh. And so they're not really wigging out, but they're kind of sitting with, I'm a little upset. I'm a little bothered about, the workshop and, me being asked to look for privilege as a victim of white supremacy, but whatever. And so the group ends, and the non-white person was supported. It was an Asian female she was supported. She was like, yeah, I think that's a great question. Yeah. And so we get back into the big group, and they're going around, and people are sharing their different stories about, how they have privilege. And it was a non-white female. I asked her to call the program. I hope she will. If she doesn't, hopefully I'll see her tomorrow, and I can get her on tomorrow. But there's a non-white female, black female in the rear, and she said, I'm trying to sit with this, but I'm real uncomfortable. It's confusing. I'm a black female. At what point ever in a system of racism would I not be black? At what point ever would I not be a target because I'm a black female? And the white facilitator, Diane Goodman, she said, yeah, that's absolutely right. You're 100% right. I'm hearing you. And the black female said, I'm trying to sit with this, but I'm uncomfortable and I'm confused. I'm not understanding this as a black person, how I'm supposed to search for some privilege, which was exactly what I was feeling. Shout out to Bird and my male entitlement. And so some other people go, and then I put my hand up and I said, I really think we need to ask, are white people going to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? And if they're not, what are the implications? And so the facilitator, she says, okay, interesting question, da-da-da-da, and she goes right back to teaching. And so I'll wait a little while, and we start going over her worksheet. Her worksheet is titled, What Motivates People from Privileged Groups to Support Social Justice? And she lists empathy, moral principles, and spiritual values. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, this is total. You got to forgive me. It's Friday, and I haven't had anything to drink. No trips to the Yak Club for Gus T. Renegade. It's Friday night, so I'm just going to keep it real a little bit. Justice is not here. I'm just like, this is total bullshit. That's all I can say is this is bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And I was thinking, Dr. Moore, theory of incapability. If the founder of this conference thinks that white people are not capable of seeing non-white people, black people, as anything but niggers, all this can go in the trash. You don't empathize with niggers. Moral principles and spiritual values are irrelevant for niggers. I don't have a self-interest in doing anything for niggers. And so I waited about 5 minutes, and I just said, this is why I asked the question, because if the answer to that question is no, we can throw this worksheet in the trash and we can move on to something else. That question is important, and I'm going to continue to push that question. No one answered it. This is critical to the workshop that we're doing and really to this entire conference. It has been, in my view, it's almost like we've assumed that we can do things to encourage and help white people not be racist. I think we need to back up and ask, is that even true? And so she says, okay. And she says, okay, let's spend some time on this. I think that is an important question, and let's spend some time on it. And so people begin to talk about it a little bit. No one's answering the question, right? No one has said, no, I don't think white people are going to stop practicing racism. No one has said, hey, I think white people, I think this conference is evidence that white people are going to stop practicing racism. No one's really said that. They're just kind of sharing their own thoughts and, speaking individually. I'm here, I'm white, I'm trying to stop practicing racism. I'm trying to not do it, blah, blah, blah. And so this goes for a minute or two. Again, I got to get the non-white female, that was huge, the Asian female. She was sitting next to me just like, yeah, I think that's important. And, that's something we need to talk about. And and so it lasted for a few minutes. And then white people said, I'm kind of done with this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to get, what we're supposed to talk about. I'm done with this. And, real abrupt. And, again, no one has answered the question. And so, and I'm sitting next to a non-white female and the white female that was in my group, so another who are sitting on the other side of me. I hear them saying, well, I don't want to talk, I'm not interested in this at all. I want the material on the sheet. And I just looked at them like, wow, okay. And so they're about to move the discussion completely. White woman that was in my group puts her hand up and says, I think the question that he asked is important. I think we need to stay here. I think we need to continue to address it because no one's really answered the question. I think we should stay here. And it was like a hush fell over the room. Gus T. Renegade was even stunned. I'm sitting here like, oh, my gosh. And so the facilitator is really thrown like, okay, I'm trying to balance. I'm trying to appease people who want to go forward with the workshop, but I hear you all are saying this is important, and I think it's important. We need to address this question. Okay, back to the question. So it goes back. And so other people are starting to share, other white people, and they're putting it on an individual level. And the facilitator even comes in and she says, I'm here, I'm a white person. I'm trying not to be racist. I'm not always perfect. I don't always succeed at that. White people as a collective, no, I don't think they're going to stop practicing racism. But me, I try to do what I can. I am committed to racial justice. That was the term she used. And some other white people, they put their hand up. A Latino male, I believe this is a non-white person. He said, he's Latino. He put his hand up and he said, I think the gentleman, I think it's really extreme to say that all white people are racist or supremacists. I just think that's really extreme, and I don't know if that, and I interrupted him. I said, excuse me, I did not say that all white people are racist or white supremacists. Did anyone here hear me say that? And if so, just let me know if I said that and I forgot or what have you. And a whole lot of people said, no, he never said that. I don't remember him saying that. I don't think he said that. And the Latino base, well, that's what it sounded like to me. I don't know, but I just think that's really extreme. I want to point out here, the white people who said, no, Gus didn't say all white people are racist. They also didn't say, well, he didn't say that, but that is true. That highlight, I'm highlighting. They didn't say that. They didn't say, he didn't say that, but even though he didn't say it, that is true. All white people are racist, including me. Just highlight that wasn't said. Okay, so people are sharing, and there's visible discomfort. The facilitator is not comfortable. I mean, there's some anxiety and tension in the room, palpable. This was pretty much the first time that I felt discomfort, like blatant, explicit discomfort, and I would say borderline hostility in a workshop. This was the first time that I felt like white people were not comfortable. Now, as I said, that it's a lot of conferences going on, so it's you could be missing out. Like, who knows what's happening at these different workshops? I don't know. This sort of thing could be going down all the time, and I just don't know. But the workshops that I've been in and the workshops that I've heard about, white people have not been uncomfortable. That was not the case in this workshop. They were very uncomfortable. So a white woman, she raises her hand, and she says, I really want to get back to the sheet. I don't want to talk about this. Can we get back to the sheet? And the facilitator, I don't recall exactly what she said, but she made a comment, and I was going to address what she said, and the white woman in the back, she interrupted me. She cut me off, and she started talking. And I said, wait a minute. Hold on a second now. Hold on a second. I have just been interrupted, and I stopped, and I said, excuse me, ma'am, are you a white woman? And she said, yes. I said, okay. I just have been interrupted by a white person. I suspect she is consciously practicing racism, white supremacy. And I said, this is exactly why I think this question is critical. Are white people going to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? I am feeling that if the answer is no, what's happening in this room right now, the fact that white people are showing a lot of resistance to addressing this question, even answering the question, could be white people consciously practicing racism, white supremacy, and not addressing important issues and interrupting a non-white person in the process. I'm being mistreated in the process. And I told the facilitator, I said, the way you're operating this workshop, I suspect you are consciously practicing racism. And so the facilitator, she acknowledges the question, or she acknowledges, yeah, he was interrupted by a white person. That is true, yeah. This is important. This is critical. We do need to address that. Some other people, they also shared some comments as well. They got back on the workshop and kind of closed things out. The really interesting aspects of this started happened when the workshop ended. As soon as the workshop ended, white people started coming up front to speak to me. Every white person who spoke to me, I think no except one white male. One white male was not in this group. But every other white person who came up and spoke to me, including the facilitator, Diane Goodman, said, I have also concluded white people are not going to stop practicing racism. All of the white people who came up and talked to me said that. And I told all of them, why didn't you share that in the workshop? You not speaking up and saying that during the workshop where other non-white people could have heard this, that, I suspect, is a conscious act of racism. And every one of them shook that, yep, you're right, yeah, I should have shared, yeah. In fact, I was hoping she called. I think I have her contact information. If I don't, I'll try and see if I can get her on the program, because she shared and she said, I think you're right. She said, I think we can look at the evidence right now. President Obama, black person or non-white person in the White House. I think he self-identifies as black, so, but a non-white president. And you see how white people are reacting. This is what this white person was saying. She said, you see all this Tea Party stuff and people making these explicit racist remarks and the comments about his wife and monkey this and all this stuff. She said it's just motivating white people to be more racist. You have a lot of evidence that that's what's happening. White people seeing or perhaps feeling that racism, white supremacy is being challenged, that non-white people are making strides. It's motivating white people to be more racist. It's exactly what you're suggesting. White people are not going to stop practicing white supremacy. Again, she didn't share any of this in the workshop, not an iota. And several other folks, they came up and said similar comments. One thing that I found really fascinating, there was a white male. He was sitting in the back. He was sitting next to the non-white female who made the comment about she felt uncomfortable and confused about being asked to think of some privilege that she has as a black female. And she was sitting next to this white guy, and the white guy, I guess, had told her, I don't think white people are going to stop practicing racism. And she said, why don't you share that with the group? And he didn't do it. And the excuse that he gave to her was that the facilitator didn't call on him. Now, people were calling out during this workshop from time to time. As I said, I was interrupted in the middle of speaking by a white woman. And so she was furious. I spoke with this non-white female after the workshop, and she was livid. She said, I'm still upset about it. I mean, the fact he would even say that the reason he didn't speak up and share honestly was because the white woman didn't call on him. I can't believe that. And so she talked to him, and he came up. He gave me his contact information and everything, and he said, I should have shared. I dropped the ball, and I told him the same thing. I suspect that's a conscious act of racism right there, that you didn't share that during the workshop. And he said, I dropped the ball. I chickened out. I didn't share. But I don't think white people are going to stop practicing racism. I'm a white man. I just started doing this sort of work, so I'm still kind of unpackaging my own stuff. But I think your question is very important. Yada, yada, yada. This is basically the same spiel that all of the white people gave me. In fact, there was a white person at the very end of the workshop, like it was just ending, and he stood up and he said, I think the question that guy asked is really important, and I do think we need to talk about that. And I don't really see anything that white people are going to stop doing this. Like, we enjoy it. We get a lot of benefits from it. I mean, I think it's a perfectly valid question, and we should be addressing it. I just want to thank him for asking the question. So it's just real interesting. The highlight, the white woman who made all of that possible, because that workshop would have went a totally different direction if she had not spoken out and said, wait a minute, I think we need to stay with this. This is important. I think we should answer his question and think about it more. I don't want to move forward and talk about anything else. We should stay on this. I was stunned. I still suspect that this white woman is a racist, and I think I told her that. But it was stunning. It was stunning. I was able to talk to her a little bit after the workshop. I got her contact information. Hopefully I can get her to come on the program at some point down the road. But she said I found out later. I talked to her later in the day, and I believe she's an elementary school teacher in New York. But she said she's trying to do this work and figure out, how she can help non-white people. That was just a stunning moment for me. That's the sort of thing that white people need to be doing on a constant basis. Like, when they observe white people practicing racism, step in immediately and correct that. And I have not seen white people doing that. I have not seen white people taking that act to step in and, hey, Gus should not be the one to have to keep demanding that we stay on it. Other white people should be the ones stepping in and saying, yes, we need to talk about this. This is important. Let's continue this discussion, not Gus. And I was stunned that, I'm still stunned that it happened. That's still not letting these white people off the hook. I still suspect she's racist, but that did happen. I will definitely not forget that anytime soon, and I hope she comes on the program so we can continue the dialogue. And she was receptive. She wanted to continue the dialogue as well. And I think she was also saying that she, yeah, white people, I think she said she does not see any evidence that white people want to come and learn about racism and what to do to end it. She doesn't see any evidence of that either. She said that's a conversation that most white people, they don't want to hear anything about that. So yeah, that was the workshop there. A lot of discussion around that. I mean, I was really kind of tired after that workshop because I had to do a lot of talking and there was a lot of tension in the room. It was a lot of people. That was probably one of the most crowded workshops that I've been in. I think there were likely over 30 people, and that's a lot of people for workshops that I've been to here. I haven't been to a workshop that had so many people in it before. So I was drained, and I had to talk a lot after that workshop. Also, oh my gosh, the other thing that happened, we continued to talk. The non-white female who spoke up at the beginning and the one who was upset about the white man not speaking up and sharing and blaming it on the white facilitator for not calling on him, she was sharing, and she was talking about how she thought it was important to address that question and to continue. And she said matter of fact, she related it to something that Dr. Joy DeGroot talked about. She said that one slick thing that white people will do is that anything that makes them uncomfortable, they'll just say, well, this is deviating from the program. We got to get back on the program. She said, this is exactly what she talked about. You all are doing it right now. You're just using it as an excuse. You got to get back on task and talk about what the workshop is supposed to be about, as opposed to being honest and doing the actual work that we're supposed to be here to do. Which, I mean, that was beautiful. She was super supportive. It was great. I would love to have her on the program as well. But, yeah, it was just really interesting. Oh, she's in the non-white. She is in the lobby. I hope we can get her on the program. It was great. I felt really supportive, and I was glad that she spoke out initially, and I was glad that she continued the dialogue. And that she got on that white guy. She was hot. She was so hot when we talked about it later. I forgot. Okay, the white woman that interrupted me, I think she talked to her, too. She spoke to her, too, and she said, you were really discourteous and disrespectful to that guy when he was talking. And the white woman was like, you're right. Yeah, that's true. And I'm sorry about that. And she said, hey, I'm not the person you need to talk to. You were rude and disrespectful to him. You need to go tell him that. So we're out in the hallway. Workshop's over. I'm out in the hallway with the facilitator, Diane Goodman, non-Mighty Wick, and this non-white female. We're all in the hallway talking. And the white woman, suspected white supremacist who interrupted me, she's walking by, and she stops, and she says, and I mean, if you can imagine the flattest voice possible, blunted affect, no emotion, she just turned and gave me the coldest look, and she said, I interrupted you in the workshop. I'm sorry. What you were saying was important, and I just wanted to apologize. She made a 180 turn and walked off abruptly. And, I mean, I just looked. And I looked at the white woman who was facilitating, and I said, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if I'm supposed to look at that and think these white people are for real about ending racism, you have got to be joking. And Diane Goodman, the facilitator, she just cracked up laughing. She was, yeah. I was like, I didn't need an apology. It didn't make me feel better or what have you. I was fine. But I mean, if that's what we're talking about, that's what we're coming to La Crosse, Wisconsin from all over the globe to talk about racism, and that's how we're going to behave. No, I would just rather have it on the table. No, we're going to practice racism forever until the cows come home, until time ends. We are going to practice racism, white supremacy. You're going to be a nigger to us forever. I would just rather have that, and we could cut through a lot of foolishness. Don't be playing games and try and fool me and think we're really about something when I'm just going to be a nigger and we're just going to practice racism, white supremacy forever. So yeah, that happened in the workshop. Just real interesting. Non-mighty, like I said, he was there. Did you? What do you want to share your thoughts on what you observed, what things that you talked about in your group and what you saw?
And it was in a form of, it's really just the core white supremacy that I see. If non-white people do not attempt to help themselves, white people are like, well, we're going to let this ride. No pressure, we'll let it ride. And that's how it was. And so whether it was in the smaller groups or the bigger groups, if there was no challenge to their racism, they was like, cool, let's keep it going, let's keep it going. Any sort of challenge to that, then you could see the little discomfort, and they would express it by like trying to skip over it and move forward. That's what I saw. It was racism practiced in their behavior from the standpoint of when the pressure was not there, then it was white supremacy as usual.
What I know you were in smaller groups as well. What were you sharing in smaller groups? What did you observe in the smaller group, and then how did that play out once the group got back together?
Okay, so we was in the workshop, and just the whole premise of it was kind of it was kind of racist. It was real racist. It was, okay, well, hey, everybody in the room, y'all get together and talk about your privilege. We have the white privilege conference, but hey, everybody get together, even y'all black people, and talk about your privilege. And so I'm in a group. It's me, 2 non-white females, black females, and 2 white suspected racists. And everybody, they sort of go around the circle, say their name, and supposed to talk about how you're privileged and something else or another. And one of the white people was saying, yeah, well, I don't want to talk about my other identities. I want to keep the focus on race, as if that was most important. And so he tells how he's privileged as a suspected racist in a system of racism, white supremacy. And then it goes around, and the non-white females get to talking about some of the ways they feel privileged and whatnot else, which was part of the confusion, which I felt the white people in the circle in that little small group could have corrected that, but they let that ride. And so when it came around to me, I just said, I think I said something like, it seems as if you, suspected racist, I think I said whatever his name was, seems as if you want to keep that it would make sense to keep the focus on the dominant system dealing with whatever privilege we're talking about, and that would be racism. I said, do you agree with that? And he was like, yeah, but I'm not trying to minimize the other isms that I may have to deal with and whatever else. I said, okay. And then the instructor or the facilitator, Diane Goodman, was like, okay, well, let's break up the groups and whatever else. And then so when the question came up that Gus raised, about what the core issue was, hey, if white people are not going to, do people think that white people are going to stop practicing racism? And that question needs to be asked and answered. And as soon as that gets brought up, and it seems as if that's resonating with people at least a little bit to think about it, the white person turns around to me and says, oh, so that's what you was talking about in the small group. But that's not something he wanted to acknowledge at the time in the small group, because then, it would have been him having to deal with racism, white supremacy versus something else. I see as long as non-white people do not attempt to do something in relation to white supremacy, white people are just going to let that ride. Whether it be talking and or action. That's what I saw.
Again, Dusty Renegade, non-Mighty Wick, context of white supremacy live from the White Privilege Conference, Day 3, La Crosse, Wisconsin. Interested, and I want to share for victims too, because I feel I've been going at some of the best, Dr. Peggy McIntosh, Tim Wise, Jensen, being in this workshop, and particularly in the circumstances of the white privilege was here, and I got hooked up by four that I can't in and act too wild at one of these workshops that as soon as I arrived at the conference, I was as the ass brother. It really, I felt like it was a tough spot. I think people on the line yesterday, they were saying that here, and I felt like that. I felt like it was tough to be in that position and having to continue to insist that we go off of the topic of what this workshop was spoken. And it really wasn't off topic. It was, yeah, my went a little bonkers. I don't even have my switch. Oh, it might be coming back. If you can hear me, forgive me. My signal just went a little haywire. Hopefully it will correct, and I'll be straight in a hot second. Let's see. Might be getting racist, white supremacist. Okay, all right. I think the signal is back, so I'll just continue. Yeah, it was a challenge to speak up and be assertive. I don't want to say aggressive, but to be assertive. It's not about being rude. This is what Dr. Welsing says all the time, putting that in these white people, putting your finger in their face and that sort of thing. Just, hey, wait a minute, needs to be addressed, and it's exactly what this workshop is supposed to be focused on. Again, what motivates people from privileged group social justice? I cannot think of a more privileged than white people. So it's not like it was even asking her to go off topics to address, but they really do a lot of things to direct signal is acting nutty. I don't know what that is. My signal is acting a little strange. I don't want to go into the lie because I'm supposed to be additional background noise and stuff. Correct itself. Sat here yesterday and I didn't have we've been here every pool's doing it, so I'm hoping it'll self-correct. If it doesn't, yeah, I'll move to a different location and see if we can get it right. But yeah, I feel like that's really important. If you're a non-white person, it's normal if you feel apprehensive, if you feel nervous, if you feel like, just scale power. You've been trained and conditioned to fear them and to think white people, it's no way you can be challenging these white people and telling them what to talk about or what not to talk about in their classroom. I mean, every aspect of how you have been trained to function. Yeah, I can't even get my switch. I'm gonna force to relocate to the hotel room. The signal is really okay. Let's see. Please forgive technical difficulties. I suspect this could be racist white supremacist interference because I haven't had any issues being in this location for the past 2-3 days. So the fact that it's popping up today is a little strange, but we'll see if we can get that taken care of. Okay, let's see. We'll try again. I'm not gonna say forgive me because it's not my fault. I don't have anything to do with the internet access. I'm just using the tools that have provided to me. I do want to again emphasize I was sitting in the exact same location for the past 2 programs, and I don't think there was any tech issues on that broadcast, so I find that a little peculiar that I couldn't get a signal all of a sudden now. But at any rate, I'm going to actually retract so I can go back and be clear with what I was talking about because I think that was real important. I was saying that this is Gus T. Renegade. I have gone at, some of the most well-known racist, white supremacists, suspected racists, alleged anti-racists that I know of. Noel Ignatieff, Tim Wise, Jessica Pettit, Dr. Peggy McIntosh, Tim Wise, Robert Jensen, the folks that have been on the program. It is still a nerve-wracking thing to have to challenge white people, particularly to be in a group of white people, not just one, but to be in a group of white people where you are not in power. The white person is the one who's the facilitator. She's the one that's got the control. And to have to, or to be in a position where that's where you're challenging racism, white supremacy. It is a nerve-wracking thing. I felt nervous. I felt very anxious. I was having to go through my own little rituals of things I do to stay calm and just so that I could process my words clearly, and at the same time to remain assertive in speaking out clearly and challenging these white people because they really were, in my view, practicing racism, white supremacy, I suspect. And I mean in real subtle ways, like you can get nervous sometimes and you'll miss things like that in terms of people not answering the question. And the Asian female that I was sitting next to, she noted that. She was tapping me and writing notes. She said, they're not answering the question. They're ignoring the question. Are you seeing this? And I just smiled and I said, yeah, it's a trend I've noted with white people. And even the white woman who ended up assisting me, I don't use the term white ally, but if I ever had to use it, I would say that's being a white ally right there. Stepping in, interceding when other white people attempt to practice racism, white supremacy, and stopping that. That's what a so-called white ally should do. That was a live demonstration for Gus, and that's something that I just don't see enough from white people to even make me remotely think that that's what you should expect to be the normal case from white people, which is why I was stunned and I'm still stunned that it happened. But, yeah, you really have to kind of check yourself and just get accustomed to doing it so you can get comfortable and just figure out things to do to keep yourself calm, so focus, and just challenge these white people because the things that they were doing were standard. Interrupting the non-white people. They were very courteous when everyone else was speaking. I don't remember anyone else being interrupted except when I interrupted the Latino male. I suspect he's non-white, but I'm not sure. But he self-identified as Latino. The Latino male who accused me of saying that I had said all white people are racist, which I didn't say. But, yeah, they weren't interrupting anyone else. The white people were supporting one another. I think when the first white person said, I don't talk about this anymore, I want to move on to what we were supposed to discuss, other white people, responded audibly, yeah, me too. I don't want to talk about this anymore. So, I mean, just little things like that encourage racism, white supremacy, all of those things you have to deal with, and it is tough. But I mean, it is necessary. I'm real thankful that I was able to challenge, even under the tough circumstances of being at this conference and feeling like, I can't speak out because Dr. Moore brought me in, but I felt like that was the best thing to do. I would have hated that workshop if I had not said anything. I would have hated it, and I would have taken it out on the conference. I would have taken it out on Dr. Moore. I would have probably came on this program and just launched into an assault about everything about this conference if I hadn't spoke out more, which still doesn't really let the conference off the hook because, I mean, this environment makes it possible for things like that to happen. This environment, in my view, makes it difficult for the challenge to occur and for white people to really be called out on the things that they're doing. But, it was really interesting. I hope I can get at least the non-white female, actually the non-white, both of the non-white females, because they were both very helpful in different ways. I hope I can get them both to come on the program at some point and to share their stories. I know the non-white female, she's younger. She said, I saw her at the dinner later tonight, and she was like, yeah, I got your information, and I want to talk to you more because I'm trying to do a radio program, but there's a dance tonight, so I'm trying to go to the dance. Priorities, man, priorities. But yeah, the white woman who was helpful, I do have her contact information. I'm hoping she comes on the program, and yeah, we can continue that dialogue. But yeah, so that happened, and I'm trying to think what other things I observed. I talked to Dr. DeGrew. I met the author, got those. Yeah, I have to save that till later because that is more, I guess, of. I feel like I've been here long enough that I can offer a general critique about what I think about the conference based on what I've observed and interactions that I've had with a lot of people at this point. I want to double check because someone did call in. I suspect this is a Skype line, but I'm not sure. You got to talk. If you're on the phone line today, you got to talk because I only have a limited number of lines, and I can't really oblige people who just want to call to listen. So the person who called in, I think you're the Skype line. Your number's showing up as bang. Are you at the White Privilege Conference?
No, I wasn't, but I attended one similar, maybe not similar, because this was back in the mid-'80s, and it was a 3-day conference on addressing the very issues that you're speaking of. And it was very intense. There were people that literally got up and left out of the room, even though it was mandatory by their management that they attend the workshop for 3 days. They can't handle it.
Who is the was it white people?
Yes. There were maybe, I would say there was anywhere from 30 to 40 people in this. We were downtown Chicago in a conference room, seated in a circle, and there were maybe 4 or 5 black people that were in the room with us. And just to observe all of the changes that they went through because they knew why they were there, because it was part of the affirmative action program at this company that I worked at then. They had to be there. And it was 3 days, all day long, nonstop, and it didn't end at the end of the workday. Sometimes we went over into the evening, late evening hours. It was very intense for both black and white attendees. Some were willing to look at what they had been doing, but most of them felt they didn't do anything wrong. It's their normal behavior. But when it came around time for me to get up and say something, I felt it come from the bottom of my stomach, you might say, diaphragm. And it was not there. And I remember getting up and I paced around in the circle and looked at each one and told them what they were doing was wrong. They would drop their heads. They would turn red in the face. They wouldn't deny it, and they wouldn't admit it, but their body actions, their body language let me know what was what. Oh, that was an intense one. 3 days, and it started at 8 in the morning, and I think the last day that we were there was out at 2:30 in the morning. And how long were you in your session?
Well, all of the workshops are an hour and a half, and then you move on to a different workshop. So,
okay.
and you go to a whole nother section, totally different people, typically, different facilitator, whole nother topic, hour and a half. Then you get off and you go to something else. Like, there's constantly things going on. You go to a session, do whatever you do, you get up, and then you go to the next session.
Yeah. Well, this was one particular workshop for, it could have gone 24 hours a day for 3 days, but I believe the facilitators, they let up on us the first 2 days, but the last day, 2:30 in the morning is when we got out of there, from 8 o'clock in the morning.
Did you conclude, or did you ask the question of yourself, consciously, unconsciously, are white people going to stop practicing racism, white supremacy? And based on what you saw there, what would your answer be to that question?
I would have to say that their practices, they feel, are normal. That's their normal behavior. And when you confront them with it, they deny it because they don't feel that they're doing anything that's wrong. But there was another workshop I attended. It was called Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes. And when everyone walked into the room...
Was that with Jane Elliott?
I forget who this was. This was like back in the 80s. But after, well, I won't go there. But they actually, during that platform, they got to understand and feel what it felt like to be discriminated against based on what color eyes they were given when we stepped into the door. Some of us were told that we could go sit in the audience. Some were told they had to go stand over against the wall and they couldn't go get refreshments or coffee or anything. And it was little privileges that most people in the morning when they step into a meeting or a forum, they're used to getting their coffee and donuts and chit-chatting. Well, this morning was different. And so they got to really feel what it felt like to be discriminated against, and they got angry. They couldn't understand why they couldn't be served coffee or have donuts or why they had to stand up against the wall, just little things. So when you're so used to always having privileges and always no one's ever trying to hold you back or anything, you really don't understand how that other person feels because you've never been in that position. So it's two sides to that. They practice it, but they don't understand it, and that's why they practice it. But believe me, when they left the room that day, they understood what it felt like to be discriminated against based on color of your eyes. I'm through talking. I'm enjoying your show, and I'll continue to listen.
Thank you so much that you calling in to share. I gotta conclude. That's got to be Jane Elliott. She does the brown eyes, blue eyes exercise. It's got anybody else who does even remotely close to that. Jane Elliott, she's been around twice as well, and she is an admitted racist. The person who created that exercise in the first place is an admitted racist. So I don't believe that people who go through that exercise leave and decide that they're not going to practice racism anymore either, because the person who created it is still a racist. So and I told her she practiced racism when she programmed in January. So yeah, I suspect that's got to be Jane Elliott who did that exercise. Admitted racist, white supremacist. Check the archives. She was here twice in the archives. I'm going to double check. I said, give me 40 minutes. 40 minutes has passed. If you called in, or I think down in Florida, anybody, if you would like to call in, feel free. 215-607. If you would like to call in, thank you for being patient with this request, but feel free. Give us a jingle 347-601. I guess check with the other folks who already would like thoughts they about in place. The White Privilege Conference, I guess if you want to share about things that you heard from the conference today, or if you heard things, listen to the broadcast, things that you've heard from previous, if you would like to, feel free to do so. Let's see, we have Tim on the line, and we also have, I think this is Mr. Nero, is also on the line with us. If either of you have anything you would like to share, Feet.
Hey, Gus.
Okay, got both of you. Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Greetings. Yes.
Hi. I don't have any comments right now. I don't have any comments right now, but I was just going to say that the phone, like the broadcast is super choppy today. I don't know if it's my phone or what, but it's really difficult to hear you. I know you can't do nothing about it. I'm just letting you know.
Is it still difficult now?
I couldn't hear you at first, but I heard that last sentence there. So, you know, it just it's in and out. You know, we can hear a little bit, and then it'll be choppy,
okay,
and then it'll go out.
You can hear.
Yeah, now it's choppy again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I just lost my internet signal. I don't know what that is. Yeah, what's causing the internet problems today? Again, I want to point this out. This is, I suspect, because this facility is huge. I've been all over, lost internet signal at all today. We even sat outside today. We were, you know, more than 50 yards the facility, and I didn't lose signal. So I have nothing to be in and again internet. So this could be racially interfering with the broadcast and why it's choppy. My apologies. I'll see if I can to correct that. Yeah, that's the real bummer.
Hello, can I be heard?
Nero, you're also listening.
Can I be heard?
Nero, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Gus, all of a sudden it's gotten pretty choppy. I don't know for how long, but it was fine, I guess, for the first 45 minutes or so, and recently you're fading in and out. At first I thought it was my phone, but I see another caller is having the same problem. So I don't know what it is on your end, but hopefully you'll get it worked out. Certainly enjoying listening to the broadcast. And interesting that you know, your observations at the conference seem to be consistent with your guests, your white guests that you've had on the show. You know, there seems to be a reluctance, really, for them to you know, replace the system of racism with anything at this point. But I will continue listening.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can correct my own line. I'm going to see if I can fix that so it won't be as choppy. Just give me, should take any more than about 90 seconds. I'll see if I can correct, and then I can share some of the other things that happened and get feedback from other folks who've called in. So just give me, I'll do a commercial, and then we'll get right to it.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree?
Okay, I think we should have the choppiness corrected. I will double check with Kim and whoever called in, last four digits 4662 4662. I also have you as well. Is there any part of what I shared thus far that was difficult to hear, that you missed out on, that you would like repeated? Anything at all?
I didn't catch that last part. What are you asking, Gus?
Is there anything, because there were tech issues, something, my internet connection, for the first time that I've been at the White Privilege Conference, my internet connection has gotten very spotty all of a sudden, and so people were having difficulties hearing me. My voice was fading in and out. So if there's anything that I was sharing, any of the things that I was speaking about, if you could not hear them, let me know, and I can clear that up now, because I think I should be clearer now.
Gotcha. And you are coming in crystal clear now.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is Mr. JJ, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. JJ.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for supporting the broadcast, sir. Yeah, if there was anything you all missed, Kim or Mr. Nero, Mr. JJ, anybody else that's listening to the program, just let me know. And any of the other folks that called in earlier, Love, Truth, Liberation, a man down in Florida, you all patiently waited your 40. Feel free to call in now, 347-215-6071. Yeah, if there's anything that you all missed out or couldn't understand, let me know, and I'll clean that up now. Mr. Nero, you're still showing as being there. Are you still there, Mr. Nero? Kim?
Just give me a few minutes. I can get off the speakerphone.
Oh, okay. No problem. Groovy. I don't know. Kim, was there anything that you were not able to understand clearly when the connection was not high quality before?
I think I might have missed quite a bit just because it was so choppy and everything. So probably not at this time. Thanks.
Okay. I'll make sure I clean that up then, because I do think that was important. The piece that I was sharing about before was just being in these workshops and being surrounded by white people and having a white person who is in charge. They're all in charge, but, they're in a teaching capacity or facilitator or something, supervisor position, something where, they're supposed to be in a position of authority. It's real challenging. It's very difficult to challenge these white people and call them out and to be really assertive about that. And I was saying that even for Gus, someone who's, when it's some of the best that I know of in terms of white people who are alleged to be anti-racist, Tim Wise and Peggy McIntosh, Noel Ignatieff, all these folks, it was tough. I felt nervous. I was anxious to be there around all these white people and to be challenging these white folks in particular. I felt it was to disrupt the workshop because she, had her own agenda and to say that, no, I think that this is more important than that. And in fact, I feel like the question that I'm asking is an integral aspect of what it is that you have laid out in this workshop. It's integral. I don't even feel like we're deviating at all. And I'm just saying for victims, that's something you should expect. If you feel nervous, if it feels uncomfortable, if you feel afraid, anxious, all of that stuff to be expected. I think Justice shared that on the program not too long back, that white people try to scare you in conversations on racism, and I definitely feel like that was in play today. White people, they were like cheering for each other. Like when a white person said, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and some other people were like, yeah. I mean, just I could not imagine that if that had been non-white people saying that I want to talk about something or I don't want to talk about something, and white people cheering, especially if it was something that was challenging racism, white supremacy. So for the victims, expect all that and just do not be discouraged. Do not be dissuaded. Continue to speak out if you feel comfortable and you feel it's correct. Just continue to make your voice heard and be assertive. Not saying you got to yell and jump up and down and curse people out. You don't have to do any of that. Just stay calm, ask questions, and point out. I make an effort to point out. I mean, I thought we were supposed to be being courteous here. I'm being interrupted. I suspect she's consciously practicing race, and I hang that all the time. I hang that on white people. Consciously practicing white supremacy, consciously practicing racism, white supremacy. Hang that conscious on there. That way we don't even get into the, oh, well, I didn't know. I'm saying that I suspect you are doing this with the intent of practicing racism, white supremacy. And that just adds a whole nother level to it because it's like, But, yeah, it was very interesting. I hope I can get some of the other people who participated in this workshop to come and share because it was a notable experience. And as I said, especially the white woman sticking out there and telling those white people, no, I think we should stick on this question. This is important. Let's go back to this. Are all white people racist? Real interesting. I guess some of the other, I would say just in general for the conference, it's difficult. Like last night, it was tough. Like it took me a while to fall asleep, and the more I thought about it, the more it really bothered me. Like this conference, I really feel like I would not encourage non-white people to attend this conference. Like that's something I had been thinking about a lot this week. Like, I should be able to have an answer on that. Like, because non-white people, I suspected, would ask me, would you recommend that, non-white people, victims of racism, go to this conference? Do you think this is constructive? And so I was trying to think about that. And I have concluded for myself, even though I think there are constructive things at this conference. Like I met Dr. DeGrew today. That's great. I probably will get a chance to meet Professor Vernelia Randall tomorrow. I could have chatted with Peggy McIntosh several times if I wanted to by now. And a lot of other people that are at this conference. I think Tim Wise is generally here. Normally he would be here. I could have talked to him in person. In addition to all of the other people who are here. It's 1,600 folks here. Non-white people, you get an opportunity to speak with from all over and share ideas, thoughts about racism, white supremacy. You can share the code, get people unconfused. There are a lot of constructive attributes to the conference, but there is so much confusion at this conference, terms not being defined, even the term white privilege. That workshop was a beautiful illustration of why the term white privilege is, it should just be scrapped. It should be in the trash like 5 years ago. That term allowed for the foolishness that was that conference. It would be most accurate to say the suspected racist, white supremacist content of that workshop because it was about privilege and looking at different aspects of privilege and how you as a male have privilege and how you as someone who can walk has privilege. I think the facilitator even responded with that. We were talking about white supremacy, and she said, well, there are people who can walk, and they have privilege over people who are in a wheelchair. And I said it is nauseating to even hear that. Like, I really want to tell you, I want to pick this desk up and break it over your skull. Like, I can't even believe you said that. Like, people do not get up every day and say, I'm going to go out and make sure that everybody who's in a wheelchair is under my foot forever. And we're going to put signs up. If you're in a wheelchair, don't come here. That does not happen. And if it is, I have been misinformed. Correct me now. To relate that to the system of white supremacy is disgraceful. And it is a conscious act of racism, white supremacy, I suspect. And, let me tell you, this was even worse what she did. She responded and said, well, I'm not telling people that you need to say that this is worse than that. Or I'm not saying that. That wasn't my intent. Audre Lorde, she said that, there's no such thing as a worse oppression. Audre Lorde, in addition to being a victim of white supremacy, she was gay, and she was in a sexual relationship with a white woman. I have noted that trend. I hope I've shared it on the program before. White people are infamous for doing things like that. They will snatch a non-white person, and she hit all of them. They'll typically, not only will they snatch, typically it's a dead victim of racism. It about 75 to 85% of the time, it tends to be a dead victim of racism, white supremacy, who is engaged in a sexual relationship with a white person. That tends to be the pattern when they look to defend something that they've done or said that was racist. That tends to be the pattern, and that's I mean, when she said that, I was just like, oh, but yeah, that in general for the conference, this conference allows, in my view, this conference promotes foolishness. This conference promotes what I suspect are racist, white supremacist acts, just like what I witnessed in that workshop. Everything about how this conference is structured, the terms that are used, the fact that there are not definitions for terms. I have still yet to hear a definition for white privilege. We've been here for 2 days doing workshops, hearing presentations. I have not heard a soul define racism, white supremacy, white privilege, social justice, racial justice. No definitions. That is huge. And a way that plays out is that being a racist doesn't really mean anything. I see it in the conduct of the non-white people who are here. They are not interacting with white people as though they are suspicious. They're not interacting with white people as though these people are racist. They're hanging out. They're going to the clubs. They're going to the yacht club. They're doing everything but conducting themselves in a manner that suggests, I think these white people are racist at this conference. And I think that spills over into how non-white people conduct themselves with white people in general, even once they leave the conference. And I mean, just being here, this is tying a lot of things together for me in terms of the confusion that I have been observing from non-white people who have attended this conference, and they come back, and I mean, just they repeat the exact nonsense that I've been hearing. They come back in discussions that are ostensibly about white supremacy, and it ends up being, well, you have privilege. I mean, you can walk. There are people that are in a wheelchair. You have privilege that they don't have. And I mean, I look at these people like, what? My brain almost wants to fall out of my head. Like, we came here to talk about white supremacy, and now the discussion has switched to the privilege that I have because I'm not in a wheelchair. Are you serious? That is what happens as a result of the white privilege conference. That's what I'm saying based on being here, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing. Yes, that is exactly what happens from this conference, confusion. I'm even talking to people and just asking folks, what do you think the purpose of this conference is? People have been saying to become aware of white privilege. And I said, okay, that is very different than saying the purpose of this conference is to end racism, white supremacy. Very different. And I see that playing out all over the place in terms of just, hey, we just want to be aware of privilege. And not just white privilege, male privilege, and heterosexual privilege, and being able to walk privilege, and being young privilege. It just becomes nauseating. It is offensive. I actually said that to a group of non-white people today. I find this conference offensive. I find it extraordinarily offensive that hundreds of thousands of dollars are invested in this conference where non-white people, a significant number of them, in my opinion, leave confused. They do not leave with definitions of racism, white supremacy. They do not leave with suspicion of white people. They leave talking about privilege. They don't even leave saying white supremacy. And that's why I said, that program with Dr. Moore, that was one of the first things he said. Go in the mirror and say white privilege 5 times a day. Get comfortable saying it. People at this conference don't get comfortable saying white privilege. They do not get comfortable saying white supremacy. They get comfortable saying white privilege. and some of them just privilege. The white gets dropped completely. It just becomes privilege, any kind of privilege. If you live on the second floor instead of the fifth floor, you got privilege. You don't have to walk up all those extra steps. That's privilege right there. And I mean, I find it despicable. I find it completely despicable and offensive. I find it to be completely offensive. And I would not encourage non-white people to come to this conference. And I was even thinking, non-white people who are informed about racism, white supremacy, they could come to this conference, and if it's a group, you could really do a lot. You could come to this conference because there's so many people here. You can network. You can meet other people, share information. You could potentially work to try to inform some other non-white people, get more people, to be informed, codified in their conduct. You could go in workshops and question and practice your counter-racist techniques and speaking to these white people. You could do constructive things. I couldn't even encourage that because that would just support this conference. I would not in any way, shape, or form do anything that would remotely suggest non-white people come to this conference for any reason. If anything, I would just say let white people go, and if the purpose of the conference is to make people aware of white privilege, let white people come, spend their money, have fun, chat about white, get their T-shirts and such, and move along. No non-white people need to be present at all because I've just concluded they leave very confused. They leave very confused, and this conference, because it's well known, you can earn academic credit. You can come to this conference and earn college credit towards a degree. Coming to this conference with Dr. Peggy McIntosh, Tim Wise was here last year. He's supposed to be here the following year. Dr. Joy DeGruy, she was here. Professor Veneria Randall. They got all these big names of people that are here, so you got all this credibility, all this legitimacy, and so you come and it's like I'm authenticated. I was at the white privilege conference. I was at these workshops. I learned. I took notes. I got books. I got literature. I mean, I am informed. And nothing could be further from the truth for non-white people. I'm not saying all because, and that's another thing that I'm glad I didn't forget. A lot of non-white people have been saying very similar things. A lot of non-white people that I have been talking to, not all. There are a lot of non-white people who've been thrilled, loving it, having a great time. They come on a regular basis. But there have been a significant number of non-white people that I have spoken with who have said they have not gotten strategies. They have not seen where these white people are being challenged. These white people seem happy and comfortable and just pleased, roaming through, doing their thing, talking about white privilege and other forms of privilege. A lot of non-white people have said that they do not see where this is constructive. They haven't used the term constructive, but that's basically the gist of what they said. They do not see where this is constructive, not something that they would come back to. I've heard that from a significant number of non-white people. I've also seen different stories where non-white people were in workshops or doing whatever and were feeling that they were not being heard, feeling that they were being mistreated, and nothing was done about it. I've heard that more than once as well. So I would not encourage any non-white people to attend this conference for any reason. I feel like because there's so much confusion, because there's never a point where you get just fundamentals. What do we mean when we say white privilege? What does that mean? What do we mean when we say racism? Just getting fundamentals down that not only do you end up leaving thinking that you're not confused because you came here and you got all this information, so you end up with a lot of people that it becomes more difficult to try to talk to them to explain things because I was at the white privilege conference. I know what I'm talking about. You get that effect, but also because you come to this conference and you're around white people, you're hanging out at the cognac club and doing all this other stuff. I think this conference makes it very difficult for non-white people to be suspicious of all white people. You end up seeing hundreds of white people at this conference, if not 1,000, that, hey, that person's not racist. This person's not racist. They're at the conference. We're talking. They're working on the issues, blah, 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 blah. I've just seen repeatedly where it really seems that I feel like this conference, non-white people do not conduct themselves in a manner that suggests they understand I should be suspicious of all white people. I think it would, just based on what I've seen, I suspect it would be impossible for that to be heard. I'm going to check in with the other folks that are on the line to see if they have comments or questions or what have you. Again, the folks who called in before, if you would like to call in now, we do have a couple lines open, 347-215-6071. Feel free to jingle in now. You can share your thoughts, feelings, gripes, what have you. But, yeah, just I'm going, they have caucuses. I think I talked about these before. They have a non-white, or person of color, that's what they call it, person of color caucus. And I had talked to several of the non-white people here, and I was telling them my thoughts about the conference. And they were like, you should come to the caucus and share that. And they asked me to come tonight, and I was telling them that I got a show. I can't do it tonight. But they're supposed to have another one tomorrow. So I said, I'll definitely go tomorrow, and I'll share and, you know, see how the non-white people receive that. But, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Vernelia Randall in the morning. And, yeah, White Privilege Conference tomorrow is the last day. And I've pretty much already come to my conclusion about how I feel about this. And the two main reasons, I want to be very clear, the two main reasons, number one, the incredible amount of money that is invested in this and is generated by this conference. Hundreds of thousands of dollars we got to be talking about. That's number one. And number two, confusion. The confusion that I think this conference makes it possible for a tremendous amount of confusion to be heaped on non-white people. And at this point, I even got to wonder if that is a conscious part of what this conference is supposed to produce, confusion amongst non-white people. I'm going to be thinking about that tomorrow as I go through different workshops and seminars and all the other things that are going on. And I guess this will be my final note. I've seen way too much entertaining, non-white people entertaining white people, dancing, singing. They had a youth privilege workshop or what have you, and it was dance away privilege or something. I mean, just it's been tough for me at times observing some of it. It's just been very difficult, very challenging to even witness some of this. I've just seen way too much non-white people out dancing, singing, playing musical instruments and things, entertaining white people, and I do not see something that is generating non-white people who are serious and conduct themselves in a serious manner when talking about addressing racism, white supremacy, and especially the way that they think about and relate to white people. That right there, those would be the things that I would focus on as to why this, and I'll say it again, this conference, I find it offensive. I guess, Kim, Mr. Nero, if you are straight, and JJ, if you all have thoughts, feel free to offer your views, opinions.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is Mr. Nero out of California, Sacramento. I'm having problems with my cell phone battery, so if we get cut off, that's the reason why. I have always had a problem with this term, white privilege. It's never really made much sense to me, and I go back to, I can recall in the 70s, you know, I'm 42 years of age, so, and I remember in the 70s when mink coats were very fashionable until, you know, some group came out. I don't remember if it was PETA or some other animal rights group that, you know, really got loud about, you know, hey, does anyone know, you know, what these animals are going through in order for you to have that mink coat? And not once did I hear the term, you know, middle-class privilege or wealthy privilege or white privilege. Or, you know, I didn't hear the term privilege at all. It was basically, hey, we're being pernicious towards these animals. How dare you wear these things across your back? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And that's pretty much what got people to take off those mink coats. You know, it had nothing to do with privileges. And so so that term has always bothered me. The other term that bothers me is people of color, because, you know, isn't white a color? You know, so, you know, these terms that they come up with when it comes to racism always seems to do one thing: create more and more confusion. Because when they really want to, you know, stop something that they feel is harmful, you know, they don't create confusing terms. They just say, look, it's wrong and you got to stop doing it.
Mr. Nero, if I can throw 2 cents in and I'll hush again. Person of color, that term came up. And again, the sloppiness with words. I mean, that in and of itself, even if everything else was okay, which it is most definitely not, the carelessness with words at this conference is totally unacceptable in a forum that you can earn college credit. I mean, bold print that. You can come to this 4-day event, 5-day event, whatever, go to the Cognac Club and earn college credit. Now, I don't know what you have to do. I'm sure there's some forms you have to fill out. Maybe you have to write a paper. I don't know. But it is possible to earn college credit by attending the White Privilege Conference. Now, the fact that they do not have definitions provided for terms, even white privilege, I haven't heard anyone explain what they mean when they say white privilege. Define that in any way. Not once. I've been here since Wednesday. Not once. Person of color. I was speaking with a black female, and she said, you keep saying non-white. Do you always say that? And I said, yes, I don't like the term people of color. I never liked it, even when I was confused about race, more confused about racism, white supremacy. Even then, something bothered me about that term. I didn't use it. And she said, oh, I don't like non-white. It's got that non on it, and then I got to say white again, and standard, you know, reasoning that I've heard before. And I said, yeah, but it serves a purpose. It's not about, you know, what I like about the term sounding. It's about, number one, I want to keep this focused on white people. White people are causing the problem. This makes it very clear. We have white people, and we have people who are not white. Now we're very clear about what the categories are, who we're talking about, and who we are focusing on. White people. And she said, oh, okay, that makes sense, but I don't like that, referencing myself as a non, and then I got to say white again. I don't like that either. I feel like I'm always talking about white people. I'd rather say person of color. And just feeling good. I was thinking of Mr. Fuller. We do a lot of things just to feel good as opposed to using words for strategic purposes. So, yeah, that person of color. I hate that word. They use it a lot here. I hate it. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, that non-white term reeks of truth. Maybe that's what bothers me. It means you got to do something now. You know, it suggests, well, wait a minute, I should be changing that.
An admitted racist, I think she had the best line because she was saying that she didn't like that term either. She used the same reason that this victim did today, and she said, matter of fact, and she added on, she said, it makes it sound like white is the standard, like anything that deviates from white is somehow less than or inadequate or not white or not right. And I looked at her and I said, is that true in a system of white supremacy? And she said, well, of course, but I mean, I said, before you even get to the but, if that's true, let's use terms that reflect that truth.
I don't know if anyone has noticed, the other day I was looking at cleaning products, and I have a bottle of Arm & Hammer cleaner. And I'm looking at the cleaner, and on the bottle of Arm & Hammer cleaner, there's a red, it's like a symbol, almost like a bullseye symbol, and in the middle of that symbol there's a white arm with a hammer, and across it says Arm & Hammer. I never really paid that much attention to it, but if you look at the bottom, underneath the arm, it says the standard of purity.
Wow.
I mean, they even put they put racist images even on cleaning supplies. Racist symbols on cleaning supplies. Man. But we got a problem with non-white.
Yeah. I have no beef with non-white. You can add Jane Elliott to that mix, too. She didn't like that either. So maybe I should send folks that episode so they can say, yeah, I'm with Jane Elliott. Forget that non-white. Referencing myself in a self-negating way. Forget that, Gus. I'm gonna stick with person of color. Yeah. The whoever, I think this is the Skype person. If you called back a female, I don't know if it's somebody else. We got you as well. So feel free if you would like to share. You're also on.
Hey, Gus, I got a couple questions for you about the conference and whatnot. The first question I have is the least important, and it might sound like a weird question, but I'm just curious about it. Was there any, you had mentioned yesterday, I had listened to the call as well, you had mentioned that you had taken the train there. Was that a counter-racism strategy?
No.
Yeah. What was the thing with that?
I did not want to fly for a myriad of reasons. Mr. Delport, admitted white supremacist, he offered, that was his initial offer, he wanted to get me a plane ticket. And I was going to take it, and I was like, man, I really didn't want to fly. And I just didn't want to fly. Not that I'm afraid of flying, not that I care, but not that I was afraid of flying, but just it seems that my victimization when I have to fly is much greater than any other form of travel. So I would prefer to not fly if I don't have to. So I was actually lobbying for the bus. I mean, didn't really care as long as I got here. But so I didn't want to fly, and he said, well, I can't really work the bus thing out either. Is the train okay? And I hadn't thought of the train for some dumb reason, but I was like, oh yeah, the train. Yeah, I like trains. That's great. And so he was like, oh, that's easy. We can knock that out in 5 minutes. So he put me on the train, no problem. I was able to, I did have a slightly ulterior motive with the train, I will say. Taking the train allowed me to visit a lot of states that I had not been to previously, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, and now Wisconsin, so that I chopped down a lot of states that I had never visited, so I am inching very close to having been to all 50 states. I only got a handful left to check out, so the train did allow me to X off quite a few states on my list, so that's why I took the train.
Interesting, very, very interesting. You say you feel less victimized when you take a mode of transportation other than flying. Could you elaborate?
Just the last few times that I've flown, and I mean this might be standard for non-white people. That's cool. It's just I just don't dig having to be snatched out of line, and I gotta dump every item in my bag out and take my shoes off, and it really bothers me. And I think one of the last times that I flew, I was leaving Seattle. I don't remember where I was. I think I was going back to California, but I was leaving Seattle, and I got. This was when I was a little more confused about white supremacy, but I was really on to organic food and diet and eating healthful, and I got like a lot of organic produce. I was really pleased. It was really inexpensive, and I had like organic peaches, and I was excited to take my organic produce back and have a snack on the plane and take some stuff. And he was like, oh no, we gotta scan your that peach there, and I was like, you're gonna scan my peach? It's organic. I mean, what? I don't want to eat that. You're going to put who knows what. I don't want that radiation on it. He's like, nope. I don't know what's in there. I got to scan it. And I was like, my peach? What can I put in the peach? And of course, this is a white person. He was just like, whatever, nigga. Give me the peach or throw it in the trash. Pick one. And I was just like, man, it was a revolting experience. And that might sound real trivial to people listening, but organic produce. I dig. So to have to scan all my food and everything, I was just really bummed about that. And like I said, the other experiences that I've had trying to fly as a non-white person, I found that I am not accosted as much when I take any other form of travel than any other form than flying. I am accosted less.
Very, very interesting. I'd have to agree with that. For me, I mean, that's been my experience as well. Let me ask you, before you went to the conference, how was it? I mean, I've definitely listened to some of the I've listened to quite a bit of your programs, and gone to the archives quite a bit, but I probably haven't heard every show, and I certainly probably did not always completely ponder over this white privilege conference. But now, obviously I'm much more curious about it. I had, in fact, went back and listened to the Eddie Moore interview just to see if I could learn some more as well. But if you could tell us, how was the conference, I got a cowbell somehow. How was the conference advertised to you or presented to you before you had, gone, and in which ways did it differ or deviate from how it was presented to you or advertised to you previously? I'm curious.
Let me say that, so that way I get to say it twice, so hopefully people will really marinate on this. There has been no deviation from what was advertised and what I have experienced. Zero. Now, the way I found out about the conference was from people. I didn't, see any literature. I didn't bump into a website. I just heard about it from people. At first, it was all white people. When I was not focused on racism, white supremacy, I just kept hearing white people come back saying, oh, my God, white privilege conference, this is incredible. Oh, my gosh, this is the most spectacular thing ever. They couldn't even put words to it, like, oh, you got to go. I mean, and it was consistent. It was the same sort of response, and it was just like, wow, what is this? I've never even heard of this. What is this? What do they do? And that was, I guess now I'm thinking about it more. No one ever explained what was so great about the white privilege conference. It was just a lot of raving and but it was never, well, we did da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, or we read da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, or they cleared up this part of confusion that I had about racism, or they gave me this strategy, or I met this person and they have resources X, Y, and Z. It was never anything concrete. It was just a lot of, I can't even put it into words how great it was, and I can't wait to go back. I started hearing from non-white people about the conference much later in the game. Like, I think I first heard about it from white people in like 2007, before the radio program started at Rainy Dog Radio. I started hearing about it from non-white people around 2008, 2009, late 2008, 2009. And they were saying, I think a non-white, she said, I saw Khalid Patterson and Frederick Gooding there. And she told me about the book, You Mean There's Race in My Movie. I hope people at least know those programs when they were on the program in September, and then Mr. Patterson and Dr. Kevorkian were on the program together in October. But yes, she told me about them, and I think she told me somebody else was there that she knew. I think Peggy McIntosh or some white person. But I started hearing more non-white people, and I was there, and it was just incredible. Still not too concrete. Still not saying, well, we did X, Y, and Z, and I've been able to bring that back and do da-da-da-da-da. I don't think I heard a lot more about it until I went to see Tim Wise when he was in Seattle, and that's when I met Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., and that was like, now the floodgates have opened because he's the founder of this thing. So, I started hearing about it from him, and then I started just bumping into more and more people. And then a lot of these people started coming on the program who are affiliated with the White Privilege Conference. So it just started gaining more momentum as I became more informed about racism. Now that I'm here and I'm saying that there's no deviation, what I had was I started making notes of how non-white people, the way that they talked about racism, the ones who've been to this conference, and what I noted was the term Dr. Ali used, conflation. Everything was in a big-ass bundle. Forgive my language. It's late. Justice is not here, and the White Privilege Conference is, I feel I've earned a few profanities. It was a big-ass bundle. It was like racism and sexism and heteronormativity and LGBTQ, and now they added the I. That's the other thing. There's an I now, so now it's LGBTQI. I didn't even notice that the I got added. Non-Mighty Wick was like, what is that I for? And I started going through, and I was like, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans. What is that? And I said, I don't even know what that is. And so we had to go fumble around and find somebody who was like, what is the I for? They said, oh, that's indeterminate. And I was like, what is that? Oh, no, she said intersex. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, I don't know either. She works for the conference, and she doesn't know what it means. And I put my head down. I said, I got to go sit down. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm going to sit down. But that's what I've noted, that the non-white people just throw everything together. Exactly what I saw on demonstration today. Everybody has privilege. I mean, you got privilege. You got two shoes on. There's some people that don't have shoes. You got privilege that they don't have because you got shoes. That's the exact way that the non-white people who went to this conference that I met, that's the exact same way that they talked about racism. They would not use the term white supremacy. They stuck with white privilege, which is exactly what I've seen at this conference. Just every deficiency that I see in non-white people in terms of confusion and not using the most accurate terms to discuss racism, white supremacy, I've seen that on display full throttle here at the conference. And I guess the last one would be, in particular, with definitions. There was a non-white female. She has a group called Husky Efforts Against Racism. Someone asked, she was doing a program, someone asked, well, what do you mean when you say racism? What's your definition for racism? And she said, oh, we don't have a definition for racism. And everybody in the room just or at least the codified non-white people in the room, it was quite a few of us, looked at each other like, are you serious? And people began to point out that is incredibly incorrect, and you need to stop everything and come up with a definition. And she really didn't grasp why that was fundamental, why there is no way you can do any sort of work against racism if you don't have a definition. And as I said, I've now been here since Wednesday. I have still yet to hear one definition for racism, white supremacy. Not one. So that's what I've seen. That's what I expected. And that's pretty much what has been advertised by everybody that I've seen from the conference. No deviation at all. It's been exactly what I expected. I don't know if I said it on the program, but I said to myself repeatedly, words. They're going to be extremely careless with words. They're not going to be definitions presented, and I have been extremely accurate with that thus far.
Very, 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 very interesting. Very, very interesting. Do you know, as far as these people that are, I don't know if you call them facilitators or speakers, but I guess the ones that are running the individual workshops, those people, are they mostly writers or academics or just even lay people or just a myriad of people? I mean, what's the typical or what are some of the more typical backgrounds of them in terms of I guess, occupational or expertise-wise?
For anybody that's listening, if you are interested, you can go to the link for the White Privilege Conference. It should be included in the description for this program. If you click on the White Privilege Conference, there's a tab on the page for the White Privilege Conference that says workshops. If you click on that tab, you'll have to download it as a PDF file. But if you click on that tab, you'll get to see all of the workshops. They'll all be listed. The facilitator's name will be there, and you'll get to read a brief synopsis of what the workshop is supposed to be about. If you like more information on the workshops, the ones that I have gone to, I've read, you'll be able to see those, and all the other. And you'll be able to see that they had like over 100 of these. How many? That's why I said the conference, can be drastically different for people depending on which workshops you go to. My understanding, based on what I've looked at, the presenters that I have seen, most of them seem to be authors. It doesn't seem like, I think the criterion that they have is that they want you to have participated in at least one white privilege conference before you can be a presenter. And then You can set up your workshop. I guess you have to make a proposal or whatever. I don't know the process, but at least from my understanding, it seems to be, my observation rather, it seems to be mostly authors. A lot of educators, people who are teachers at, various levels, high school level, collegiate level, whatever other sectors. Some people who have nonprofit organizations are doing presentations. Some people who are musicians are doing presentations. They kind of full scale. I met a gentleman. He was doing a workshop on Islamophobia in America. I met somebody else. I think they were a musician of some sort. They were doing a workshop on hip-hop music and how racism, white supremacy has taken over hip-hop music. I think they're just, an artist of some sort. Dr. Joy DeGroot, she did a workshop earlier today following her. She gave a keynote address to everybody who's at the conference this morning. Same thing Vernelia Randall is doing tomorrow. It's kind of the full gamut. They got some people doing workshops who have done documentary films, kind of all over the place. I don't really know what the term layman means. I guess I don't know what that term means. I was told when I arrived here that we will see. I think his wording was, we'll see perhaps in a year or two, you could be doing your own presentation. This was Dr. Moore talking to me, or doing your own workshop. Based on what I've seen, there is no way I could do a workshop. I would not want my name associated with this conference. I would just have to say that bluntly. I would not want my name associated with this conference. Like, I feel like this conference gets to steal credibility because, Joy DeGroot was there, and Vernelia Randall was there, and Tim Wise was there, and Peggy McIntosh is there. And, you could just run. They have got, you look at this show list, a lot of people who have been on this show have been at this conference, and vice versa. There you have, it's hard to just come out and diss a conference that's had all these people come to it. It's very hard to just say it's not constructive. It gets to steal a lot of their credibility. I would not want my name associated with it for anybody who thinks, well, if Gus is a part of this, they got to be on something because I know he's not about any foolishness. I know he's for real, so I know. No, they are not. I don't have that much credibility, maybe none, but they're not stealing any of mine to have my name associated with it. And it's too much foolishness. My workshop would have to be, the white privilege conference is bullshit. That would have to be my workshop, and this is why. Now, if they would have let me do that workshop, let's do it. And matter of fact, if Dr. Moore comes on this program, that will be my pitch. I'll do that. I'm telegraphing that'll be one. If he will let me do a workshop that breaks down why and how the white privilege conference reinforces the system of white supremacy, you'll see Gus T. Renegade back here. I'll do it until it breaks, until they tell me I can't do it anymore or they don't have a white privilege conference anymore. But if he's allowing, I'll be back. It's in Minneapolis next year. Gus will be here, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do shows every day, and I'll do 2 so you can hear the response to the workshop. But that's the only way I would come back, if he allowed me to do a workshop by myself that breaks down how this conference enforces racism, white supremacy.
Well, I got a million questions that I could ask forever, but I'm not be a hog, so I'm back up. But you can come back to me later on if folks don't have any other questions or whatnot. But thank you for sharing all that very, very, very constructive information with me and us.
Sure. The person that called, I'm assuming it might be the female from before, but it might not be. With the Skype call, you are with us as well, Mr. Nero, Kim, Mr. JJ out Pacific Coast, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, all of your mics are open. I will say, again, just to make sure we didn't miss it, because I know Kim, she emailed me, gender-neutral bathrooms. I believe we did get video footage on that today. We'll try and get that uploaded at some point. But the gender-neutral bathrooms, I have not had an explanation as to what problem they are attempting to solve. I have been thinking about the gender-neutral bathrooms for a few days now. I have concluded that I suppose this is for LGBTQ people who are do not have a determined gender status or do not subscribe to male and female being the only genders, so that they do not have to pick. You just have a gender-neutral bathroom. I believe that's the problem that they're seeking to address, I think. I could be incorrect, but that has not been explained. There's no literature that I've stumbled upon that explains why they have gender-neutral bathrooms, what that's all about. The only thing that I've seen is a piece of paper that says, please text Jess, and it has her cell phone number so that she knows how many people used the gender-neutral bathrooms. And for those who have not been following the cows long enough, Jess is the admitted white supremacist known as Jessica Pettit. I would highly encourage, go back, and you have to listen, she was on the cows twice. Go back and listen to both of those. Those are very important programs, and you'll get to hear Justice's first program on the cows, which was Jessica Pettit's second trip to the context of white supremacy. So that's why that's one thing I can say. Having come here, there are a lot of programs that I'm like, whoa, that program, you should go back and listen to that. You should go back and listen to that. So, yeah, gender-neutral bathrooms for Kim.
Gus, this is Mr. Nero. On the website, I noticed the, I guess, a symbol for the cognac room on Blog Talk. and I just I have to touch on this because, you know, as a cab driver, I pick up a lot of drunk white people. And let me tell you, if you are a non-white person, and you're going to attempt to drink with a white person, you are way in over your head. You do not stand a chance in that realm. I mean, I have seen them get in my cab sloppy drunk, and I'll try to get them to talk about racism, and they will shut down.
Wow.
And I'll go, wow, even drunk. They'll keep their mouths shut. It's amazing. Sloppy drunk. I mean, got to be helped into the car. But they will keep their mouths shut when it comes to racism. I mean, the Indians didn't have a chance against them people. I mean, they didn't stand a chance once the alcohol got pulled out. So that should be cold. No non-white person should be having a drink with a white person.
I mean, I agree. I agree completely. I guess I just find it embarrassing that needs to be a part of the counter-racist code, that if you're going to have a discussion about racism, white supremacy with a white person, you shouldn't be at a bar. Like,
should not be at a bar.
I mean, I can't even imagine being at a conference with Mr. Fuller and Dr. Welsing and saying, man, Mr. Fuller, let's hit the cognac room. I mean, I can't even get my mind around how in the world did we get to the white privilege conference and we're supposed to meet at the cognac club, to have drinks and talk about, I mean, what? Like, who's, I mean, I don't know if I want to go ask whose idea this was. Was there any protest? I mean, and to further underscore this, there are a lot of kids at this conference. They have a youth white privilege as component to this conference. I think I was told today they have like 130 kids. So all this chat about the Cognac Club, book signing at the Cognac Club, the kids are hearing this too. Now, I'm not going to say, I mean, hey, I know kids see a lot of advertisements for beer. I know when I was, younger, 10, 5, whatever, I'm sure I saw a ton of commercials and advertisements for tobacco products, alcohol, whatever. But, I mean, we're at the white privilege conference and kids are going home. Yeah, Ma, I missed out. I didn't get to go to the Cognac Club to meet. I mean, what? What? I don't know how I'd feel about that if my child was at the white privilege conference and he had an option of going to the Cognac Club to talk about race. I just don't know how I'd feel about that. The kids I do want to make sure I get that out. The kids did not go. One of the people in charge of the youth component said that the kids were invited. So I'm under the impression that they did have the option of going, but they did not go. They were doing another activity. But I mean, I mean, just the fact that it was even out there at all is just very strange to me. Very, very strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's been my experience that, for the most part, many of them, the ones that I have picked up, are functioning alcoholics. I mean, they can get plastered, up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then get picked up for work at 7:30 and be just fine. And I have not seen non-white people be able to pull that off at all. White folks do it on a regular basis. Get hammered on a Monday night, a Sunday night, go to work the next day, no problem.
It's going down here. I believe Non-Mightywick, he bumped into a white female in the hallway, and he was trying to see if she would get on the program. And she said, "Oh, no, I'm drunk. I can't do that." This wasn't even today. This was earlier in the week. So, I mean, I'm sure it's going down hard today. And I'm sure it's going to be even worse tomorrow, since tomorrow's the last night and it's Saturday. And I just saw this when I got back to the room. Apparently, the White Privilege Conference, the hotel is so pleased with the business that the White Privilege Conference has drummed up that the White Privilege Conference participants have happy hour prices at the bar for the duration of our stay here.
Wow.
Has anyone witnessed any conversation that white people are having at the Cognac Club?
I have not.
I mean, are they actually talking about replacing white supremacy, or are they talking about, what are they talking about?
I have not. I went to the Cognac Club one time, but I was not there when the presentations were going on. I have not been while people have actually been there hanging out, talking about, or I don't know what they're doing. So I have no idea. Perhaps that's something I will attempt to do either tonight or tomorrow before things wrap up, to actually go to the bar and see what they are actually talking about in these settings. I don't know. I didn't really want to go to the Cognac Club yesterday. Like, everything about it was just kind of like, ugh. I've seen enough foolishness one day. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I think that would be excellent information to get, just to see what's going on, what's being discussed. I can tell you, in the lobby of the hotel, because there's a bar here at the hotel as well, that there have been a lot of episodes of people sitting in the lobby, white and non-white people sitting in the lobby, and I don't know what they're talking about, but just observing, they're sitting very close. I mean, sitting close enough that you have a hard time picking out, where the bodies end, that sort of thing. Sitting very, very close. And I've never had a conversation about racism where, the person is in my lap, or we're holding hands, or we're sitting close enough that, their head is on my shoulder, or people could, hey, are y'all a couple? I mean, I've just never had a conversation about racism with anybody, even with another non-white person, where it's been that snug and warm and cozy. So I imagine, even if there are discussions going on at the bar, I imagine that the liquor is having a real corrosive impact on those discussions, where it's just getting very friendly and nice. Because, as I said, I'm not seeing white people walking around here mad. Like that workshop today, that was pretty much the first time that I saw white people angry, uncomfortable, hostile, interrupting. Like, they were not behaving like refined racists who were just too slick and smooth, too cool. They looked rattled. Other than that, I haven't seen that. These white people look real comfortable, real happy, like they are having a good old time in La Crosse. That's what I've observed consistently. But I will try to get to a bar before the next program.
Has there been anything constructive that you've observed, participating in any of the workshops or seeing any of the keynote speakers? Can you report any constructive things that have happened?
There's probably tons of it. In fact, I want to make sure I go on record and say this. If you are not confused about racism, white supremacy, I suspect you could get a ton of constructive information at this conference. And in both ways, and when I say both ways, I mean you could get a ton of constructive information in that. Like I said, Dr. Joy DeGruy was here. I mean, that was a slam dunk. She had excellent information. She was out. I mean, you could have went and had a drink with her. She was out next to the bar. We sat down and talked to her for like 15, 20 minutes. Vernelia Randall is going to be here tomorrow. That's going to be a slam dunk. The white guy, I just met a random white guy, and we talked for like 3 hours. He had excellent information. I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. I'm sure they had a workshop today where they talked about John Henryism. That I was told that was a very constructive workshop. A non-white person who had been complaining about the conference said she went to that. It was great. She learned a lot. She got information she could take back and use. Doesn't get any better than that. So I suspect there's a ton of that here, and I suspect that any non-white person who's informed about racism, white supremacy, you can learn a lot here. And even from the confusion, you can learn a lot. Like it would be similar to programs that I've done, like the Oreo Experience, Kamal Bell. You could learn a lot about how non-white people are impacted by racism, white supremacy, like behavior patterns that you can pick out amongst confused non-white people. You could do a lot of that too. So if you're not confused about racism, white supremacy, you can learn a lot here. The problem is most of the non-white people who come here are not informed about racism, white supremacy when they get here. So this just throws you into a tailspin. I mean, and in addition to the conference being confusing, if you come here and you're confused and you go through all this, there is a tendency to leave and think, okay, now I'm not confused. Now I'm pretty informed. In fact, I'm an expert because most people, period, have not been to the White Privilege Conference, so they haven't met Dr. DeGruy. I got a signed book from her. I shook her hand. I talked to her. I talked to Dr. Eddie Moore. I sat and talked with Peggy McIntosh for a half an hour. What? I'm not confused. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to. Gus is just dumb. I was at the White. I got a shirt and everything. Got privilege. You would just end up getting a big head. That's what I've seen. You end up getting a big head and not being receptive to listening to other perspectives, particularly if they differ from what you picked up at the White Privilege Conference. So, yes, there's a ton of constructive stuff available. The problem is just that I feel that is only the case if you are informed about racism, white supremacy. If you already got a framework down, yes, it's constructive. If that's not the case, no. I do not think there's a lot. I mean, just the fact that you don't have definitions, I mean, that really erodes the constructive value right there. It starts to go downhill from there. When you don't have a framework for what racism is and how it works, I mean, it's just like we can talk about anything. We can talk about anything. We can talk about and privilege, the fact that they're so careless with terms that it's hard to really get any traction when we're just throwing privilege around. It just ends up being, I'm privileged because I got socks and you don't. You're privileged because, you got 5 shirts and I only got 3 shirts. So you got privilege, I got privilege, everybody's got privilege. Next.
To piggyback on that, having, gone to some conferences, to some, I guess, workshops today, specifically you had mentioned the one where they were trying to get you to acknowledge your so-called privileges. Having been to that today, does that give you any extra perspective with regard to the conversation that you had yesterday with a non-white female whom also brought up the topic in a similar way? Does that, if you have any comments on that?
What did the non-white female, how did she bring up that topic yesterday? Just refresh my memory.
Well, with regard to white privilege, she was very, very adamant to say that she has privileges, that she has a lot of privilege in this way, privilege in that way. And she was very. It felt a little weird when I was listening to it, and I was wishing. I actually did not listen live, otherwise I would have asked a question about it. But it seemed that she maybe went to that workshop that you went to today, that she's already done that one. That's what I could say.
But that's the whole conference. That's what I mean. Like, when you put that word, when you lead with privilege instead of racism, white supremacy, that's what you get. And I mean, that's everywhere. What happened today in the workshop that I was in, that's indicative of the conference on the whole. Dr. Moore said that before we even got here. We don't just talk about racism, we talk about sexism and gay and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that is the white privilege conference. That's all over the place. That is rampant here. I mean, they can say that white privilege, that's what's on the marquee, but when you get inside, it's white privilege and class and sexism and homophobia and, I mean, it's just an endless list. It just goes on and on and on. So that sort of thing, I mean, that is a result of the white privilege conference. Coming here, being confused, the confusing terms that are not defined. If you are a non-white person, it's very easy. It's inevitable. If you are confused and you're non-white, you're most likely going to get swooped up into that. And, yep, I got privilege too. You know, I got a lot of privilege. I'm not just a victim of racism. I mean, you know, they got a person in a wheelchair over there, so I got a lot of privilege I got to deal with myself.
Yeah. You know, do you notice, and I'm not necessarily making the case for this because I haven't done any in-depth research, but I'm going to ask you because you may have some constructive information to share about this. But do you notice that, or do you find this to be the case that there seems to be a disproportionate amount of people whom would be considered a so-called protected class that are white people that write about race and issues related to race? And if so, why do you think that is the case?
Let me make sure I'm understanding that clearly. When you say protected, do you mean that non-white people are not suspicious of these people? Is that what you mean when you say protected? If that's not it, could you break?
So let me ask in a different way. I was trying to use their lingo. They say so-called protected. It's like a legal status. In other words, my question really is: do you notice that a lot of people that write about, a lot of white people that write about race, most especially as related to so-called African Americans, but others as well, do you notice a disproportionate amount of those white people being, gay or Jewish or gay or belonging to some sort of other protected class or in relationships with non-white people?
I don't know if it's disproportionate. I would have to investigate more, but my initial thought was I do think there are a significant number of folks who would qualify for that protected status. I mean, either they're in a sexual relationship with a non-white person, so-called Jewish, gay, whatever the other groups are. Yes, and I think there's quite a bit of that here at the conference as well. And they got a Jewish component to the conference too. Like they got Christian privilege, and it's just very strange. Quite a few of the presenters have been so-called Jewish. The gay thing, quite a few of them. One of them was gay and Jewish. Yes, I have noted quite a bit of that here. I don't know how many of the presenters who are white are in sexual relationships with non-white people, other than Dr. Moore's wife, soon-to-be mother. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know, but I have seen some of that, and that does seem to be the case for quite a few of the folks who allege to do anti-racist work, that they are in one or more of those groups.
I've noticed that as well. I don't know if it's scientifically true, but it seems to be the case. I don't know why for sure that is the case, but I often wonder or speculate if some of these people are aware of their white privilege but suffering some sort of cognitive dissonance about it in relation to their other status. In other words, maybe feeling like, and I know you don't like these terms, and I wish I had better ones, but discriminating or being prejudiced against people is bad because I'm, because that's done to me in certain ways because of my status as a, fill in the blank. But I'm a white person, so that means I also practice that I might be guilty of doing some sort of racism, white supremacy, or whatnot. And I guess I wonder if that perhaps that's maybe why you have a disproportionate amount of those white people who are of a so-called protected class writing about race and especially as related to us African Americans, and not necessarily doing a good job when they are writing about it, and maybe trying to help, but at the same time not helping, and maybe due to some sort of cognitive dissonance, which would be defined as, an uncomfortable feeling caused by holding two contradictory ideas simultaneously. And I don't know. That's just my weird thought of the night.
I don't think it's weird. I think my only thought would be, I get other people, if they have a thought on this, feel free. My only thought would be that I thought it was critical. One of the last things that you said was that they do this work, but they don't necessarily do a good job. I gotta suspect that that's purposeful, that these people are consciously not doing good work, that they are consciously putting out inaccurate, poor quality work about racism to confuse non-white people. And I suspect that I'm thinking Noel Ignatieff, how Jews became white folks, how the Irish became white. And the program we were supposed to do the Monday that I left to come to this conference, Carol Brodkin, how Jews became white folks. I got to get that makeup day because I just feel like that's going to be a very important program. Being white means practicing racism, white supremacy. In order for these people to be white, you mistreat non-white people, especially black people. I think for the white people who are maybe having some anxiety about their status on the white team, the way you clean that up is you mistreat non-white people to prove to the white people, I'm down. I'm with you all. See, look at me. I'm getting at these niggers. Look what I'm doing to these niggers. So I suspect for some of these people, maybe even all of these people, Tim Wise is in that group. He said he's so-called Jewish. That could be the way of proving their whiteness, practicing racism, white supremacy, and being extremely refined about it by going under the guise of being so-called anti-racist, practicing racism all the while, cranking out confusing material that they know will lead nowhere for non-white people. I suspect that's what could be happening. I could be incorrect, but that's the way I would be leaning. Not that these people are, that this is, just their best effort. They did the best that they could to try to help correct this problem that they know exists because they've been, I guess, mistreated at some level themselves, or they're in a relationship with somebody that is a victim of racism. So, they know that on a very personal level and want to make some effort to contribute to helping that. But, they did the best they could, and it wasn't very good, but they did the best. No, I don't think that's it. I suspect it's purposely poor to practice racism.
Oh yeah, I was not. I hope I didn't sound like I was making the case that they. I wasn't making the case that they were or were not trying to do anything. I think we should be very suspicious of them, and maybe even more suspicious of them. And I agree. I think that in many cases, it could very well be that they're just trying to confuse us, that they're just trying to shore up their status by helping to further subjugate us. But I also think that it's possible that there are some, and this is not a good thing either, this is not a constructive thing either, but I think there are probably some who fear that their whiteness status is very tentative and that it could blow with the wind in different directions, and so that they might feel, some of these people, that trying to help the situation for non-whites could prove to be helpful for them or their descendants at some point, but at the same time suffering cognitive dissonance and still being white people needing to practice white supremacy. They still can't quite not practice white supremacy just because. But these are some things I've been thinking about. But yes, I'm highly suspicious, make no mistake, and more so highly suspicious of any white person who claims to be trying to help us non-whites. But I think we should be twice suspicious of them.
And I have to give that a little more thought. I have to think about some more people who are in that group.
Like your Robert Jensen, your Tim Wise, that woman you named today, Goodman, probably Jewish. That's very often a Jewish last name. And there's so many others that you've had on your show whom it would turn out to be that they are of a more recent, how would we put it, that their ancestors more recently became so-called, became white, as the white man defines it, but, and woman, I guess. This person that you have coming on your show upcoming, I believe his last name is Jacobson. I was trying to find out some information about him. Usually you have more information on your site about the upcoming guests. Is there anything you could tell us about this guest so that we could maybe learn more about him? I like to, when possible, learn more about the person before hearing them, and then I can, often come with questions that will be more constructive for our cause as victims.
I haven't got the information up just because April's been very busy for obvious reasons. Stephen Jacobson, he has done research on the term he uses is mind control. I learned about him from Dr. Kamal Bell. Excuse me, wrong Kamal. Dr. Kamal Cambone, who also recommended Irritated Genie. He said that Stephen Jacobson does not do work on white supremacy. However, he does work on mind control and various techniques that are used to subvert thought. And he said, if you take what you know about white supremacy and apply that to what he teaches about mind control, it will be very constructive. Dr. Cambone highly recommended his work. I've looked at his site, and he breaks down various techniques that are used in advertising, media, television, films, movie, you name it, to control how people think and perceive things. And just what I looked at, exactly what I said. Just take what you know about white supremacy and apply it to what he talks about. In fact, he's one of the few guests I spoke to him on the phone a few weeks ago, and he never used the term racism. He never used the term white supremacy, but it was uncanny the things that he did say, how applicable it was to white supremacy. And I hope you all know who Dr. Cambone is. Real important. Hopefully he'll be coming through down the road. But He said they control thought and just lead you to a lot of things that are not constructive. And as soon as he said, I was just like, whoa, because I don't hear anybody say constructive that is not, somewhat informed about Mr. Fuller's work, counter racism. And he said that. So that was kind of like, oh, how interesting, non-constructive. And so he continued.
Who said constructive?
I'm sorry?
Oh, just for us listeners, who said constructive? It was
Stephen Jacobson.
I see.
Stephen Jacobson. He said they lead you to things that are not constructive. And so he continued and he said, we're really just talking about a small number of people who are responsible for this. And he said, anytime that a small number of people control a large number of people, you have to have deception. And I was almost cracking up laughing at this point. Like, see, this is a layup right here. This is going to be great, and he's probably never going to say white supremacy. I just hope the listeners, I hope we've cultivated a sophisticated enough listening audience. Take what you know about white supremacy and apply it to what he says. It'll be excellent, because that's all I did. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is great. He should come on the show. But he has a website. I think if you put in Mind Control in America, his website should pop up. He's done programs. I think you might be able to listen to him. Don't quote me on that. But he has articles, essays you can check out. He has audio CDs where you can, listen to him break everything down. But yes, Mind Control in America. If you Google that, should pop up, should be the first thing. Once I get back to Seattle, I will fill out the description completely, and all that information will be present in the description for that program.
Very, very, very. Thank you for that. I did some searching, and that is the person I found. I didn't know if that was the one. I was able to do a little bit of research. He's got some stuff on YouTube, this gentleman. So victims who plan on being on that call, maybe you could check out some of his stuff on YouTube, if not his book, and be more prepared for getting some constructive information from him, hopefully.
Gus?
Yes, sir.
I just want to be clear on this. I mean, I just want to make sure that when people use the word Jewish, we are just talking about a religion, aren't we?
I have no idea what people are talking about. And I told you I went to that workshop that was on Jews and racism and anti-Semitism. I didn't get definitions there either. I never heard anyone define Jew. The only reason I didn't ask is because they had literature in that workshop, and I didn't get a sheet, and I didn't think of it till late. If I had been a little quicker on my thought process, I would have made a compensatory request that the white person give me their sheet and they do without and do whatever he advised people to do that didn't have a sheet. But I didn't think of it until the end of the workshop. But it wasn't defined. So I have no idea if they're talking, because they talked about it as though Jews were a separate race, but they didn't explain that process. And then they tossed it because they said, well, Jews are white people now. So, it was just very confusing. It was very confusing. I try to stay away from the word, but I have no idea if we're talking about a religion. I have no idea what we're talking about.
Interesting. That's kind of what I figured. I believe that they have used the so-called Jew, as strategy under their refinement of white supremacy. Jewish to me just means racist. That's what I equate it to. I don't see that anything other than someone saying that I'm a Buddhist or that I'm a Christian. You're telling me you're Jewish. You're just telling me you practice certain rituals, but you are indeed a white person. But they have used it, I believe, to confuse people. so much so that you'll even have white people claiming that no Holocaust ever even happened. That, that we didn't kill 6 million Jews, that didn't happen. So it's just been my understanding now, because I too was once very confused about this term called, Jewish, and I'm trying to remember and recall an author who's supposedly Jewish, who actually went back and did the research and determined that Jewish people are just white people from Turkey that were ousted. They were known as barbarians. They eventually migrated up to Russia and just adopted this religion, and that it has no ties whatsoever with the so-called Jews out of the Bible that were once enslaved by black people, and now all of a sudden they're white. That has never made any sense when they try to tie it back to, well, Moses brought my people, my ancestors out of here, and now all of a sudden you're white. So that's never really made any sense to me. But I personally believe that they've just been using that as just propaganda to keep people confused, in the area of religion, and that these are just white people.
I know that book you're referring to. It's by Arthur C.O.W.S. I can't pronounce his last name. I think I know the book. Are you referring to the book titled The 13th Tribe by Arthur Schlesinger, if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly?
I've heard of that book, but that's not the book I'm referring to. I think the book I'm referring to is called The Moses Mysteries or The Mothberg Mysteries. I just can't recall the name of the book. But he had pretty much done a lot extensive. He was a lawyer and had done extensive research and had come to the conclusion that it's not rooted in race at all, and that these people are the descendants of some guy out of Turkey called King Bulan, and that they were just basically Turks, white Turks that migrated up.
Well, I think I prefer white, non-white as well, typically, but I think sometimes you have to step out of that to learn more about this system, and so that's why I had brought up what I had brought up. I think when you're talking about Jews, so-called Jews, it can definitely get very, very confusing if you are not aware of a lot of different things in terms, and so it may be best for some not to engage in a discussion about that. But sometimes you do have to get in the weeds, so to speak, because sometimes that's where a lot of things are hidden for us in the system. But I think also if you're going to discuss Jews, it can sometimes help to even be more specific about the so-called type of so-called Jew, and even then, you got to be careful. But yes, what I was referring to were what is called Ashkenazi Jews, which are so-called European Jews.
Yes, right, so-called white people.
Exactly. They are white people. Yes, they are currently considered white people in America, but they of the different European peoples, these are of the more recent. Well, we could just say they are. It might be fair to say that they might have been the last group of. They might be the most recent converts to whiteness status, I guess we could say, here in the United States of America. And I think that is something, I think once we identify who white people are, I don't think that's it and that's all. I don't think we just go, okay, they're white and that's it, that's all, and never think about situations beyond that, because I think sometimes we can still learn more. I think white people, it may be fair to say that they might, in some instances, certain so-called types of white people might move a little bit different as a unit than other groups, but again, I wouldn't. This is not a conversation that I would have with someone who's just beginning to learn about white supremacy, But I definitely felt it was reasonable to talk to you guys. Are very sophisticated, but yes, I think there's a lot of dangers with stepping out of the white, non-white binary. But sometimes you got to.
I see them as just, white people, a clan of white people whom other white people had a problem with. And this whole notion that they just got accepted into whiteness is nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, that's another racist strategy to keep people confused. They have always been considered white. They were white when they threw them out of Spain. They were white when they threw them out of England. They were white when they threw them out of Portugal. You can go on and on and on about all of the countries that threw out the so-called Jew because of some of their practices. But, they have...
I would just wholeheartedly. I think history would say otherwise. I think the laws of the United States would say otherwise. Those different countries you named, you're even talking about different types of Jews. Those were not all Ashkenazi Jews that were thrown out of all of those countries that you mentioned. So I think you're right. We need to treat them like white people because they are in this system of white supremacy, these Ashkenazi Jews and any other type of Jews that have been designated as white by white people. But I don't think that it is I don't think that's the end of it. I don't think well, let me put it another way. I think there's a lot that could be gained by studying different groups of white people, how they've related to each other and to other non-white people. I think that could be very constructive to understanding this problem that we're grappling with, racism, white supremacy, big time. By the way, not that we need agreement or anything like that, because obviously I'm just a black man. I'm a non-white person working with information that's been given to me, so I know I could be wrong, very much so, about anything that I've said, and not to say that this person is the end-all, be-all, or anything like that, but I want to say I think I've heard you mention her before, and I do want to bring her up, not to say that she's correct or incorrect, but just to say that there are a lot of very important people that we would consider good, that we would probably consider people that are working against this problem called racism, white supremacy, whom have made studying Jews as distinctly different, or at least at some point in history distinctly different than other so-called white people. Those people would be Frances Cress Welsing. I don't know if you ever read the ISIS papers, but and obviously I'm paraphrasing her, and I might have it wrong, but she wrote about Nazi Germany, and it's her contention, or at least, well, it's my perspective that it would be her assertion that white people in Germany did not consider these so-called Jews as white people. And that she feels that they are, that she felt, in my interpretation, again, could be off, that these so-called people so-called designated as Jewish are a Semitic people. In her research of the etymology of Semitic, she believes, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree with this because I haven't researched it, but she believes that semi means something like half or mixed, in other words, not white. But that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Did I miss the question?
No, there was no question. I was just providing I was providing an alternative point of view to the one that you provided. That was all.
Okay. Even when they throw out that term anti-Semitic, you're being. I've heard them say things like, "Oh, you're being anti-Semitic," whatever that means. Once again, I just see this as a smokescreen, a tool used to keep people distracted and focused on something other than white people and what white people do to non-white people. That's just how I see it. I don't pay that no mind when I hear the term Semitic, because I've never had it defined for me. And I've had Jewish people in my cab, and I've asked them, hey, what does that mean? And one person will tell me, well, it's part race, we're like Arab, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll say, okay, well, on an application, what do you check, white or non-white? And systematically they all say, well, I check white. Well, then why didn't you just say that? Why do we just spend the past 20 minutes discussing what a Semitic person is when you're checking white in the box? My whole thing is with that, even with the Holocaust, I am very even suspicious of it. I find it more suspicious that you don't have many black people living in Europe. I find that to be more suspicious, because during the slave trade, they sent slaves everywhere. Like any person that goes into a business, if you go into a business, you're going to use your own product. Slaves were sent everywhere. Yet when you go look at the census for, France and England and all these other countries, there's a very small number of black people living there. Very small number. I believe that is highly suspicious. Because once upon a time, they had to have a significant slave population, just like you have in the Americas. Yet all of a sudden, the population has dwindled down to 2% or less in most of these countries. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yet you have white people arguing that the so-called Holocaust never happened, that there was no 6 million people, white people, or Jewish people, whatever they want to call them, killed by Hitler. Have they produced 6 million names of people that were killed? So once again, I'll leave it at that. I just feel it's another strategy by them in the area of religion to keep people confused and chasing the shadow.
I just wanted to point out we are we're pretty much at the end of the broadcast, as dictated by white people who set the time constraints on the program. I am going to walk to the bar and see if any conversations on racism are going down. If so, I will report back on the next broadcast, which will be tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Right back tomorrow, final day of the White Privilege Conference, number 11, La Crosse, Wisconsin. Hopefully, I will have chatted with Professor Randall. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, she will have great things to say, and she will use the term white supremacy, hopefully. I'll report on that, too. I'll make sure to let you all know, and I will try to snag some other non-white folks and white people who are at the conference, see if we can get them on the line to share their thoughts on what's been going down. Thank you all for listening, supporting the broadcast. Very much looking forward to getting back in. Very surprised to know so many of you all have been curious about what's going on down at the conference. I hope it has been constructive. We will be back tomorrow, as I said, same time, live with La Crosse, Wisconsin. Replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. And We'll be back. Thank you so much. Cows signing out. Peace.